Han Li's Wuxia Adventures. Chapter 509, How Could He Not Fight? Feng Chen and the others all stopped walking and gazed into the distance. They only sensed a cold energy surrounding them, and the target was Feng Chen, the prince of Tianfeng. Apart from Feng Chen, the envoys from Tianfeng were also being targeted and were enveloped by the cold air. A small black dot appeared on the horizon and a whistling sound filled the air. In a flash, the small dot had crossed a distance of several kilometers. It was extremely quick. Lin Feng. Most of them, when they saw the person approaching, were stupefied. That black dot was Lin Feng on his winged tiger, and he was rushing towards them. He's not dead. Feng Chen was stupefied and his pupils shrank. It seemed like the people of the Xiehua school didn't manage to kill Lin Feng either. Besides, Lin Feng was so audacious that he had immediately rushed to the imperial palace. Was he planning to fight here? A terribly cold wind was rushed close, and the wings of the winged tiger batted quickly, causing the gravel to fly in every direction as it landed in front of those people. Lin Feng jumped off the back of the winged tiger and nodded towards the people of the Dragon Mountain Empire, Mr. Roa, Mr. Yao. Those two people also nodded at Lin Feng, and Roa Lan Shan immediately asked, "Lin Feng, you came here but you look as if you are furious. Why is that?" "I need settle some accounts," said Lin Feng. He then slowly turned around and looked at Feng Chen. A cold light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. His entire body was releasing his qi that enveloped Feng Chen and the other people from Tianfeng. Feng Chen and the others were stupefied and coldly staring at Lin Feng as well. Both sides remained silent. They were only releasing their qi, which was colliding in the atmosphere. Roa Lan Shan looked startled and glanced at Lin Feng, then at Feng Chen, but he remained silent. He knew what was going on. Feng Chen had sent people to kill Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, you are in the imperial palace, don't you think that you are exaggerating?" said Feng Chen immediately while accusing Lin Feng. He was saying that Lin Feng didn't respect Xueyu because he wanted to see how Duan Wuya would react. Lin Feng ignored him. He only waved his hand and a sack appeared, which he threw at Feng Chen. Feng Chen caught the sack and opened it. The sack was leaking with blood. When he saw what was inside, he was astonished and started to shake. Lin Feng was so cruel. Inside the sack was Mu Qing's head. "You are the prince of Tianfeng, you came to Xueyu as a guest, yet each and every one of you attempted to humiliate Xueyu, over and over again. First it was the princess, then you sent people to kill me. I am a respected member of Xueyu. Don't you think that you people from Tianfeng are humiliating my country a bit too much? Do you despise Xueyu?" said Lin Feng in an ice-cold tone. He then took a small step and released more of his energy. It was piercingly cold and it was moving towards Feng Chen. That extremely cold and sharp energy stupefied Feng Chen. He was staring at Lin Feng and said, "What do you want?" Lin Feng smiled coldly, but said nothing. He remained silent and was just coldly staring at Feng Chen and the others. At the same time, he continued releasing his oppressive and cold energy into the air. All the people from Tianfeng were surrounded by his energy. The atmosphere had become particularly cold. Everybody remained silent. Lin Feng was still releasing his energy, which enveloped the whole crowd, but not a word was said. Feng Chen was staring at Lin Feng with killing intent. Lin Feng was extremely audacious. He had surprisingly barged into the imperial palace and wanted to kill him. Besides, he had beheaded Mu Qing and delivered it in a sack to the prince. How cruel. Besides, Feng Chen felt that he was being humiliated. Lin Feng was acting as if he was a king as he looked down at the prince. Duan Wuya was only calmly looking at the scene. Nobody knew what he was thinking. He didn't plan on intervening. Feng Chen had implied that Lin Feng didn't respect Xueyu, but even if that was the case, Duan Wuya was willing to accept such behavior from Lin Feng. He had known Lin Feng for a long time and could understand his actions. Lin Feng was brave, audacious, courageous and talented. He was an extraordinary individual. Lin Feng had a flaw though, he was very impulsive and allowed his decisions to be affected by his emotions. He didn't care about the consequences of his actions when he was angry. If Lin Feng was furious, he cared about nothing, he didn't care who he killed and didn't care what consequences would occur. For example, he didn't hesitate to kill Shi Qiong or Duan Tianlang, they both had high statuses in Shuiyu, but they had offended Lin Feng so he slaughtered them without mercy. He also took his revenge by massacring the Haoyu sect and the Ice and Snow Mountain village, followed by the holy courtyard of Shuiyu. In Lin Feng's mind, there was only one path for his enemies, death. The same thing happened at Xiangjiang Lake, no matter who or what stood in his way, he was determined to kill Shi Qiong. Therefore, Duan Wuya wasn't surprised by the fact that Lin Feng had charged into the imperial palace, and on top of that, he didn't care. However, Ruolan Shan seemed irresolute. Lin Feng had high natural abilities and was very courageous, he admired him for that. However, Lin Feng wanted to kill the people from Tianfeng, and the question wasn't who would kill whom, but the result would be the death of talents. The most concerning thing was that Lin Feng might be injured. Ruolan Shan didn't want to see that. Even though he still didn't know who would be joining the great competition of Shuiyu as a participant, and some geniuses might appear to occupy the vacant positions. At the very least, Lin Feng, the second envoy, would occupy 2 of the vacant positions. Lin Feng, why are you so infuriated? Can't you forget about it for the time being? Asked Ruolan Shan in a calm way, he was a bit angry at Lin Feng's actions. However, Lin Feng shook his head. Forget about it for the time being. Impossible. Ruolan Shan frowned, but immediately calmed down, he then continued, you are all geniuses, I am an ambassador from the Dragon Mountain Empire, I don't want you to be harmed before the competition, I hope you can understand that. Lin Feng remained silent and grew tense. Lin Feng, you're really too arrogant, you even disrespect your elders. You're a disgrace. Shouted Feng Chen furiously. His face was filled with killing intent. Lin Feng was insufferably arrogant and audacious. He really wanted to kill them while they were inside the imperial palace. The second envoy had broken through to the 6th Xianqi layer, he didn't believe that Lin Feng could fight against him. The atmosphere was filled with a deathly silence and it was very oppressive. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Ruolan Shan, he then said, Mr. Ruo, why are you in Shuiyu? To select the participants for the great competition of Shuiyu, obviously. Therefore, I hope that nothing will happen to any of the potential seeds. Replied Ruolan Shan. And the people who will participate in the great competition of Shuiyu, aren't they all geniuses? Asked Lin Feng again, of course that there will be only powerful geniuses, from the 4 empires and the 13 countries of Shuiyu. That is unquestionable. Mr. Ruo, you are saying that the cultivators who will participate in the competition are the most incredible geniuses in the continent, however, Lin Feng, am only an insignificant cultivator, I am far from being as skilled as the geniuses who will participate in the competition. Besides, my skills are also lacking, I'm much too inferior to those geniuses, so why would I go to fight against them? Asked Lin Feng. When Ruolan Shan heard Lin Feng, he was stupefied, then Lin Feng talked again, for someone like me, participating in the great competition of Shuiyu, wouldn't it be the same as courting death? Ruolan Shan was gobsmacked, what was Lin Feng trying to say? Was he saying that he didn't want to participate in the great competition of Shuiyu? Was he going to compete? Did he not dare to risk his life? Participating in the great competition of Shuiyu is an opportunity to see the most amazing geniuses of the 13 countries of Shuiyu, it is an opportunity to travel the continent, experiencing the great battles and improving through the dangers. However, the most important part is the overcoming of the dangerous situations, but that requires courage, if I have no courage, what would be the point of participating? We are currently in Shuiyu, my home, if I allow myself to be bullied and humiliated while in my own home without acting because you don't want me to be harmed, well then, doesn't that make me seem like a weak coward? If I am a coward, why would I leave Shuiyu, how could I dare to face the geniuses of the 13 countries? If I am that weak, why would I want to face them? Lin Feng's words astonished Ruolan Shan. Lin Feng had a point. The great competition of Shui wasn't only about the geniuses from Tianfeng, there would be extremely strong cultivators from the other countries, and even people from the other empires, all of them would be incredible geniuses. If Lin Feng acted weak while in Shuiyu, his home, how could he leave Shuiyu to fight with the other geniuses? After remaining silent for a few seconds, Ruolan Shan's lips moved. He said, "I will not get involved, this is none of my business. It is a matter between you and them." Chapter 5:10, Thunder Spirit. Ruolan Shan moved aside and smiled. He didn't blame Lin Feng for his rude behavior at all. In fact, after hearing Lin Feng's words, he admired his actions. Lin Feng was courageous, tenacious and talented, but the most important part was that he had the heart of a conqueror. No matter how strong his enemies were, no matter what their status was, Lin Feng would kill them, out of self-respect, and for the sake of his cultivation. Lin Feng wasn't scared when facing the Prince of Tianfeng and the envoys. He was fearless. There was only killing intent in his heart. That kind of person could soar into the heavens. On the path of cultivation, they would continue to climb until they reached the peak. Therefore, Ruolan Shan didn't want to stop Lin Feng. Lin Feng could solve his issue with the people from Tianfeng now that Ruolan Shan had allowed him. Ruolan Shan would no longer get involved and neither would the people from the Cosmic Pavilion. It had nothing to do with them, therefore they moved aside as well. Duan Wuya smiled indifferently as he moved aside as well. He didn't care about such a thing. At that moment, the people from Tianfeng and Lin Feng were facing each other. Both parties were giving the other a murderous glare. Lin Feng despised them. He wanted to use them as a stepping stone on his path of cultivation to strengthen his own resolve. "I am surprised that you would immediately come here to fight," said Feng Chen slowly while staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't reply. He took another step and released his astonishing qi. It seemed like he wanted to destroy the atmosphere with the power of his qi. Apart from Feng Chen and the second envoy, the others could also sense the killing intent in the qi which made them shiver. Lin Feng's qi was incredibly cold. They felt like they were suddenly surrounded by ice. It was terrifying. If Lin Feng had the opportunity, he would kill them mercilessly. Lin Feng had the heart of a killer. "I am surprised too. I thought that you would run back to Tianfeng," said Lin Feng indifferently. He then released some deadly qi which into the air. It was as sharp as a sword. Lin Feng looked like he wanted to slaughter them all and remove their bodies from existence. Feng Chen pulled a long face. He was shocked. Lin Feng's intent was incredible. Lin Feng wasn't only talented, he was also extremely strong. In fact, Feng Chen admired him for his strength. Lin Feng was incredible. Such people were rare in Tianfeng. Unfortunately, Lin Feng was from Shuiyu, so they had become enemies. That couldn't be changed. They had a grudge which couldn't be settled until the other had died. "You're too arrogant and think too highly of yourself. I am not inferior to you, Lin Feng," said Feng Chen, whose clothes started fluttering as he released his power. He released an ice-cold energy which collided with Lin Feng's deadly energy that was filled with intent. Many people were stupefied but immediately calmed down. It was the first time that they witnessed Feng Chen's strength. He was extremely strong and had broken through to the 6th Xian Qi layer. But they weren't too surprised. Feng Chen had several armies under his control. His strength was never in question. If he wasn't strong, then people would have already killed him and claimed his position as their own. "Your Highness, let me fight," said the second envoy while taking a step forward. He was standing next to Feng Chen. His cultivation layer was exactly the same as Feng Chen's, the 6th Xian Qi layer. His level was much higher than that of Lin Feng. He didn't believe that a trivial person like Lin Feng would be able to defeat him. Feng Chen glanced at the second envoy and nodded. He then immediately moved back to let the second envoy fight. He wanted to see how Lin Feng would handle a cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer. The second envoy's spirit was monstrously brutal. Lin Feng was coldly staring at the second envoy. They were destined to be enemies. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes turned black, pitch black. His eyes were filled with an incredible coldness, his eyes were desolate and without emotion. The Lin Feng, at that moment, looked like another person completely. What's this? A special power? Or a spirit? When the second envoy saw Lin Feng stare at him with his pitch-black eyes, he felt like Lin Feng's eyes had become an endless abyss. He couldn't see the end of the darkness. Let's fight. I already wanted to kill you after last time, said the second envoy. The night of the banquet, Lin Feng had challenged him to a battle. He had humiliated all of the envoys and even killed some of them. When Lin Feng challenged him, Ruolan Shan had unfortunately stopped him from killing Lin Feng. It's not too late for you to kill me, said Lin Feng while releasing some more deadly energy. The second envoy took a step forwards and, in a flash, a dazzling purple light emerged from his eyes along with a thunderous sound that filled the air. The sound of muffled thunder invaded the atmosphere and Lin Feng's deadly energy immediately dispersed from the attack. The crowd was stupefied when they saw his attack. At that moment, the second envoy was surrounded by thunder. He looked like a thunder god. The second envoy's spirit was the very rare thunder spirit. His explosive power was monstrous and powerful. Thunder spirit. Lin Feng was stupefied. His eyes were twinkling. He released more deadly energy and raised both his hands. A sword condensed in his hands and started to lacerate the atmosphere. It seemed like it was leaving a black trail as it moved through the air. Go! The second envoy stretched his hand and an endless stream of thunder and lightning rushed towards Lin Feng's sword. Lin Feng's sword diffused a terrifying black light. Gotcha! Lin Feng's sword could lacerate anything in its path, but the thunderous sounds were unceasing. Lin Feng's deadly sword descended from the sky and continuously destroyed the thunder and lightning. The deadly energy was moving straight towards the second envoy. The second envoy raised his hands and a purple and white light emerged from his palm. It looked dazzling. Thunder light, said the second envoy and closed his eyes. He looked like he was praying to the thunder god. A purple thunder emerged from his hands and rose into the air. In a flash, that purple and white light immediately shot towards Lin Feng's sword. That purple thunder light contained an endless killing intent. CSSH, CSSH. There were no terrifying explosion sounds, there was only a battle between deadly energy and a dazzling purple light. The energies continued to crash against each other as they rippled through the air and spread out in all directions. The people watching started to move back. Only Lin Feng and the second envoy didn't move. Under the purple and black energy, Lin Feng was expressionless. He took a step and his astonishing deadly qi appeared again, with another deadly sword. Ultraviolet thunder! Shouted the second envoy in a deep voice. A multitude of thunder appeared which moved straight towards Lin Feng's sword light, but they were stopped by the deadly energy contained within Lin Feng's sword and were destroyed. Lin Feng's sword was cold and murderous, while the second envoy's thunder was incredibly dangerous. Their battle was starting to destroy the atmosphere. It seems like I won't be able to destroy his energy just by relying on my sword, thought Lin Feng. He then moved his left hand. On Lin Feng's left hand appeared a flag mark which immediately turned into a gigantic banner filled with rampaging flames. A banner, a spiritual banner. The crowd was astonished. Lin Feng had a precious and incredible treasure, a banner. Duan Wuya was stunned. He had never seen Lin Feng's banner. This was the first time. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng would surprisingly possess an incredible treasure like a banner. Besides, there was a sun pattern on the banner and it was releasing terrifying flames. It was obviously not the first time that Lin Feng had used the banner. It had already burnt people alive and absorbed their power. The banner contained a fire chi which belonged to other cultivators. The banner appeared but Lin Feng's sword didn't disappear, he had his sword in his right hand and the banner in his left. Lin Feng was controlling both powers at the same time. Lin Feng had used his Black Lotus in his left hand and his sword in his right hand in the past. This time, he had a banner in his left hand and a sword in his right hand. Chapter 5:11, A Fist. The second envoy was stupefied as well. Not only did Lin Feng have a banner but he was also using a sword at the same time. That required an extremely strong soul. That's a real genius, thought Ruolan Shan when he saw Lin Feng. Many people already had difficulty controlling one skill, those who had high natural abilities could master more skills, but it required practice to improve and control them. Lin Feng was the kind of genius who could learn and master skills quickly. Lin Feng didn't stop, he immediately ran towards the second envoy. His deadly energy was sharp and cold, his deadly sword was moving straight, aiming for the second envoy's life. Destroy! The second envoy attacked with both hands, shooting thunder which moved straight towards Lin Feng's sword, but Lin Feng continued running towards him. The second envoy narrowed his eyes. It was the first time that he met someone who was attempting to fight in close combat against a cultivator with a thunder spirit. Thunder spirits had a monstrous explosive power. In close combat, the enemy would be destroyed by the thunder and lightning surrounding him. Very few people dared to fight a close combat battle, let alone when their opponent had a thunder spirit, however Lin Feng was one of the exceptions. Boom! 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 The second envoy waved his hands over and over again as thunder emerged and exploded towards Lin Feng. Hu! Lin Feng moved his left hand which was holding the sun banner and attacked the thunder. The banner and the thunder were locked in a battle of power. Explosive booms rang out, but the thunder was starting to burn. Thunder had the power to give birth to flames. Usually fire would be weak against thunder, but Lin Feng's sun fire could even engulf the power of thunder. Besides, he was using a banner which was extremely powerful and couldn't be damaged by thunder of this level. Lin Feng continued to move closer to the second envoy. Does Lin Feng want to fight in close combat against the second envoy? Thought the onlookers while staring at Lin Feng. They were extremely surprised. Lin Feng was surprisingly moving closer to the second envoy. Wasn't he scared of thunder and lightning? If the second envoy used the power of thunder with his fist, he would be able to bombard Lin Feng's body using his spirit and physical body. The second envoy smiled coldly. Lin Feng was approaching, he wasn't scared and wanted to fight in close combat, he was giving an advantage to the second envoy. Ultraviolet celestial thunder. The second envoy looked calm and solemn and started condensing thunder which were revolved around him. A dazzling purple light descended from the sky to envelop the second envoy's body inside clouds of thunder. At that moment, he was bathing in a sea of thunder, he looked like the reincarnation of a thunder god. Feng Chen was watching the battle from a distance and could see the dazzling purple light that surrounded the second envoy which made him smile coldly. Lin Feng wanted to fight in close combat, how would he resist the power of ultraviolet celestial thunder? At that moment, the second envoy wasn't even moving. He was waiting for Lin Feng to approach him. Lin Feng's eyes were growing darker and darker, as well as terrifying with each second. He looked gloomy and it was like he was staring through the second envoy. Since the second envoy wasn't attacking anymore and was just waiting. Lin Feng immediately retrieved his banner and only held his sword at that moment. Lin Feng held his sword with both hands and allowed it to absorb a tremendous quantity of deadly energy. His opponent's cultivation level was much higher than his. The thunder contained an incredible destructive power. If his sword didn't contain intent, it would have been destroyed a long time ago. Lacerate, said Lin Feng in a sinister tone. The dark light of his sword was astonishing as it descended from the sky towards the second envoy. The second envoy raised his head and saw the sword moving towards him, his facial expression was calm. He raised his hands in the direction of Lin Feng's sword. In the blink of an eye, an endless purple light emerged from his hands. His hands weren't hands anymore, they looked like clouds of thunder and lightnings. Boom! A muffled explosion emerged in the air. The sword had landed on the second envoy's thunder, but Lin Feng's deadly sword was struggling to move forwards through the thunder. Die! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. An incredibly brutal and violent deadly energy emerged as well as his pure qi. Lin Feng's deadly sword was growing more powerful. It started to lacerate the atmosphere ruthlessly. You will not have a chance, said the second envoy coldly. His body was glowing with the purple light which emerged from his hands. It was his ultraviolet celestial thunder. He had started condensing it within his hands again. The thunder was unceasingly following Lin Feng's deadly sword and blocking its blade. It was extremely quick. Lin Feng's body was slowly being surrounded by the thunder. It's over for Lin Feng, thought many people who were watching. At that moment, Lin Feng's sword, filled with intent, was surrounded by dazzling purple thunder, but his sword wasn't able to lacerate the thunder at all, which gave the second envoy every opportunity to attack. If Lin Feng was touched by the thunder, he would be severely injured. However, Lin Feng looked expressionless. Even though the ultraviolet celestial thunder could block his deadly sword and surrounded him with thunder, he wasn't planning on escaping. Is Lin Feng giving up? Is he submitting to death? Many people didn't understand what Lin Feng was doing. He wasn't escaping. Didn't he care about being surrounded by the thunder? They obviously didn't notice that Lin Feng's body, at that moment, was filled with incredible strength. It was moving through his body and bones to focus on his right hand. Sir. Sir. Lin Feng's right sleeve was suddenly torn apart to expose his entire right arm. The crowd was shocked. It was over for him. Lin Feng was doomed. The purple light had already torn apart his right arm. But surprisingly, he was still holding his sword. The second envoy had a tyrannical smile on his face. Lin Feng had given up and was simply committing suicide. The thunder only needed a few more moments before it would start tearing apart Lin Feng's body. Even if Lin Feng didn't die after being bombarded by the thunder, he would definitely be severely injured. However, Ruolan Shan was stupefied and fixedly stared at Lin Feng's arm. He could see that something black was flowing inside his veins. It looked like a terrifying physical strength was suddenly emerging from Lin Feng's body. However, it was difficult for him to see it clearly due to the thunder and deadly energy surrounding the two fighters. Finally, the thunder had almost destroyed the condensed sword, and at the moment when the crowd thought that Lin Feng was going to be exterminated by the thunder, he released the sword and disappeared. His body brushed past the thunder, but it didn't seem to stop him. It didn't influence Lin Feng at all. At the same time, Lin Feng moved with the wind and moved a few steps to the side. It was a short distance, but it was perfect. He had passed through the thunder and moved to the second envoy's side. The second envoy was stupefied. Lin Feng's speed was incredible, and on top of that he was using the opportunity to attack with his fist. Thunder. A terrifying thunder was released from the second envoy's body, but Lin Feng's fist quickly broke through the cloud of thunder. A terrifying thunder energy attacked his hand, but it didn't have any effect. It couldn't stop Lin Feng's attack. 3000 rotation strength. Maximum power. Boom. Lin Feng's fist immediately crashed into the second envoy's head. It wasn't a surprise. With the strength of the 3000 rotations, the second envoy's head exploded on impact into small chunks of flesh and bone. The purple thunder was still surrounding the second envoy's body, but the thunder was joined by a mist of blood. Everyone was speechless. He was dead. Lin Feng didn't even bother destroying the thunder. Instead, he received the thunder with his body and used his fist to crush the second envoy's head. That astonishing move made everyone speechless. There was no reaction for a few seconds. They felt like they were all seeing things. It was unimaginable. In an extremely dangerous situation, Lin Feng surprisingly accepted the attack with his body to attack his opponent. He had made the second envoy focus on the sword and then used his powerful fist when the envoy was focused on the sword. That fist was terrifying. Lin Feng ignored the attacks from the thunder and punched straight through. What an incredible physical strength! Thought the crowd. They were gasping in astonishment. Lin Feng had planned that attack from the beginning. He used his sword as a distraction. He only wanted to get close to the second envoy and attack him by using his physical strength. All the people from Tianfeng were devastated. They were fixedly staring at the headless corpse which now laid on the ground. The body was giving its last life throes. He was dead. The second envoy who was at the 6th Xian Qi layer had died. Lin Feng punched his head into a pulp. How powerful. Ruolan Shan was smiling indifferently. That boy had many hidden tricks, and all of them were exceptional. Chapter 5:12, Boiling Blood. Lin Feng had used pure physical strength, no skill, no technique, just pure physical strength. Lin Feng had punched through the thunder to crush the second envoy's head, but what was that physical strength? What kind of physical strength did a body require to cross through thunder without being injured? There was a mysterious light that surrounded Lin Feng's body. It looked like a mystical aura. Feng Chen was fixedly staring at Lin Feng. His facial expression was sharp as a blade. Lin Feng had just proved to him that he could kill the second envoy, a cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer. Lin Feng looked down on the 7 envoys at the banquet the other night as it was justified. Lin Feng was declaring that the envoys from Tianfeng who had come to Shuiyu were not his match. None of them were. Lin Feng destroyed all of them, including the second envoy. At that moment, Feng Chen was their last chance to prove the opposite. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Feng Chen. Feng Chen's eyes looked like blades and sharply pierced through the atmosphere towards Lin Feng. "It's your turn," Lin Feng calmly said in a deep voice. However, the sound of his voice made the atmosphere feel oppressive, especially for Feng Chen. Lin Feng, with only one sentence, was able to make Feng Chen shake from head to toe. After killing the second envoy, Lin Feng was finally looking at Feng Chen. He still wanted to fight against him. He was the prince of Tianfeng, but at that moment, he was in Shuiyu. Phew. Feng Chen slightly closed his eyes and sighed deeply. A sharp breath flowed from his mouth. He looked like he was sighing, but actually, he was releasing his deadly qi while looking calm and solemn. At that moment, the crowd could sense Feng Chen's deadly energy. Feng Chen wanted to kill Lin Feng. He wanted Lin Feng's life and everybody knew it. Lin Feng also wanted to kill him, therefore, only one of them could live through the fight. Lin Feng's strength is incredible and he is courageous. He is already facing Feng Chen now, thought the people watching. Feng Chen wanted to kill Lin Feng and they could understand his reasons for sending people to attack Lin Feng. They had anticipated that it would happen. However, they hadn't expected that Lin Feng would charge into the imperial palace alone to settle accounts with Feng Chen. He was extremely audacious, daring, bold and brave. They admired Lin Feng for his courage. Many people felt inferior to him. Besides, Lin Feng had even convinced the ambassador from the Dragon Mountain Empire, Ruolan Shan, to allow the fight. Of course, what astonished them the most was Lin Feng's strength. Even though he had challenged all the envoys last time, they never thought that Lin Feng could actually compete with the second envoy. In fact, they were wrong. Lin Feng had slaughtered the second envoy in front of them and was even challenging Feng Chen. "I am actually really surprised by your strength. Your strength has far exceeded the expectations I had about you," said Feng Chen. The atmosphere was filled with an oppressive and cold deadly energy. "But your strength doesn't allow you to act that wild and arrogant. You should never have humiliated Tianfeng like you did. Since Mr. Ruo doesn't mind us fighting, I will show you my strength," said Feng Chen in a calm and solemn tone. Feng Chen raised his head, and joined his hands together to produce 2 deep black pure qi lights on his shoulders. It was terrifying. Do you know where the name of my country, Tian Feng, comes from? Asked Feng Chen, which surprised Lin Feng. The crowd was stupefied too. The name of each country had a particular meaning, Tian Feng was no exception. However, very few people knew how or where those names originated. In fact, the people from Tian Feng had no idea where it came from, only those of Tian Feng's imperial family knew the secret. Feng Chen didn't expect Lin Feng to answer, so he just continued, a few thousand years ago, Tian Feng was a vast and wild area. There were terrifying and vicious ferocious beasts. Humans were under constant threat of the beasts. Those beasts reigned over a territory of several thousands of kilometers. There was one ferocious beast in particular who led them. It was a celestial wind beast. It had advanced into a Zoon-level being. Tian equals celestial/heaven, Feng equals wind. The crowd were stupefied and surprised. Tian Feng was under the control of the wild beasts thousands of years ago. The celestial wind beast was terrifying, and it could control the wind along with the thunder of the country. Nobody could resist the beast's rule. If anyone dared to resist the beast, they would be slaughtered by an endless army of beasts. That beast was tyrannical and the people were in constant danger. Everybody was extremely scared of that beast, said Feng Chen. Back then, there was a small village in which there was a young boy. When the boy was 8, he would dress in fur and sling a quiver on his back. He would always leave the village to practice his bow. One day, when he left the village, his parents and relatives were killed by the beast, and that was when the young boy chose his name, Tian Feng. When he was 12, he killed ferocious beasts in the jungle by using his arrows. He never stopped growing stronger. He killed the beasts mercilessly. When he was 15, he killed the head of a tribe with his arrow and took control of the territory. He gave that territory the name Tian Feng. When he was 18, he took the tribe on a campaign to invade the other tribes. His own tribe was in constant expansion. The Tian Feng people were killing ferocious beasts continuously for their leader. When he was 25, Tian Feng was able to kill a monumental amount of ferocious beasts. Finally, the extremely strong celestial wind beast grew furious and came to kill the boy. On that day, many people died. It was a bloodbath on both sides. And on that day, Tian Feng disappeared, but his name remained. Many people think that Tian Feng died during the attack of the ferocious beasts, so the people threw down their arms and were enslaved. They were enslaved by the ferocious beasts. However, they never forgot about Tian Feng. Even though he had disappeared, his people always remembered him with respect and admiration. He became their god. 18 years later, he wore the same fur coat he wore back in his small village when he was a child, but he had no arrows in his quiver. That year, Tian Feng resurfaced. He was 43, he would kill any beast in his path. He killed a monumental amount of beasts that day. One day he raised his arms and finally, the humans who were being oppressed by the beasts rose into action. They had faith in Tian Feng. Tian Feng had an incredible army which gathered in his name, and they began to wipe out the beasts. The battle was an incomparable battle. Feng Chen sounded extremely proud as all the glory of the country resided on his shoulders. No ferocious beasts could stop Tian Feng. Each time they encountered him, they were slaughtered. Finally, the celestial wind beast personally came. It wanted to kill Tian Feng for good. The battle was incredible and lasted from noon to evening. The people were exhausted and had no more qi to fight with. However, Tian Feng continued to fight and injured the celestial wind beast. He then ate the beast while it was alive and drank its blood. That blood mixed with Tian Feng's own blood and granted him the strength of the beast. It was a soul-stirring change. Tian Feng freed the enslaved and the country was unified beneath him. Tian Feng became the king and the name of the country was Tian Feng. Everybody was moved by Feng Chen's story. The history of each country would always tell a story of a conqueror or incredible kings who reached the heavens. Tian Feng had become the king of Tian Feng when he was 43. He had become a Zoon-level cultivator because consumed the Zoon-level beast. He had encountered a great number of hardships and sufferings. The crowd would have never thought this was the origin of the name. Lin Feng didn't interrupt Feng Chen either, he was calmly listening to the story. Lin Feng wanted to become an extremely strong cultivator. The path of cultivation, it wasn't limited to one country. The story of the Zun-level cultivator of Tian Feng made Lin Feng's determination grow firmer, he even grew more fearless. He had to move forward fearlessly if he wanted to soar into the heavens. Feng Chen was proving how strong Tian Feng, the Zun-level cultivator, was. However, Feng Chen was just cherishing the memory, but that wasn't a reason to be conceited and arrogant. Recalling the glory which he had no part in, it didn't give him that right. After Tian Feng drank the blood of the beast, it merged with his blood and transformed, then it became a new type of blood, and that blood had always been passed down from generation to generation. That blood is flowing in my veins too, said Feng Chen. A terrifying qi was emerging from his hands. The qi in his body was flowing in an insane way, it even started to boil. That beast blood was erupting. Chapter 513, Blood Strength. Everyone was staring at Feng Chen. They could clearly sense that his blood was boiling, it was insane. Kacha. A subtle sound emerged that made the people's pupils shrink. They only saw two black bones protrude out from Feng Chen's shoulders. His qi was also growing more and more terrifying. Kacha. Boom. Immediately after, two wings emerged from Feng Chen's shoulders. He raised his head and looked up towards the sky. His facial expression was cold and his jet-black wings looked extremely evil. The edge of his wings were as sharp as swords and black lights flickered around the wings. After his wings appeared, a black light floated around Feng Chen's body. His entire body was dyed black. His qi was frightening, he had the complexion of a black cloud. Between Feng Chen's eyebrows, a pitch-black light was twinkling and penetrating his skin. Finally, a word appeared. Wind. After the word appeared, his qi grew evil. The corner of his eyes also became sharp, just like the eyes of a beast. The strength of his blood. As expected, it's a blood spirit, thought the crowd while shaking. In ancient times, cultivators were much stronger. The people who founded the countries were extremely terrifying, they were usually cultivators of the Zun Qi layer. The ancestors of Tian Feng were Zun-level cultivators who passed their blood on to the next generations. Feng Chen was the same as the members of the imperial family of Shuiyu, they all had a powerful blood spirit. Feng Chen was staring at the others, the crowd had the feeling that a beast was gazing threateningly at them. His eyes looked ferocious. Besides, in Feng Chen's hand were terrifying flames, black flames. Flames were floating around his hand, they contained a deadly energy with incredible power. Then some light appeared inside the flame, thunder. It was thunder fire. In the past, the celestial wind beast could control wind, fire and thunder. Feng Chen had the power of the beast's blood, so he was also able to control wind, fire and thunder. His wings were flapping in the wind and controlling its movements. His hands could be used to control fire and thunder. Both of his hands were enveloped in a deadly light. Feng Chen is terrifying, thought the crowd while shivering. At that moment, Feng Chen was giving them a dreadful impression, he looked bestial. It seemed like this battle was going to be very interesting. Both were incredible, they were rare geniuses. Besides, most of them knew that Lin Feng also had a strong blood spirit. However, it seemed like Lin Feng's blood spirit wasn't as strong as the one Feng Chen used. Nobody could predict who was stronger. He's been hiding it quite well, thought Ruolan Shan stupefied while staring at Feng Chen. Feng Chen was hidden more deeply than what he had originally thought. He surprisingly looked like a beast, that usually ever-smiling young man looked extremely bestial now. Even though he had always known that Feng Chen wasn't weak, he had never thought that he would be so strong. Besides, his blood spirit looked monstrously powerful. Geniuses like him were indeed extremely rare. No matter who died, it would be a pity. Raising geniuses such as Lin Feng and Feng Chen was extremely difficult. But things couldn't be changed. Lin Feng and Feng Chen were going to spare no effort to kill one another, only one of them will live. He had allowed them to fight a battle to the death. Ruolan Shan glanced at Duan Wuya. Duan Wuya and Feng Chen were the same, both belonged to the imperial family of their respective countries and both had a blood spirit which had been passed down by a Zun-level cultivator since ancient times. Besides, they were both incredible geniuses. Ruolan Shan had never looked down on either of them. Even though Duan Wuya was only the fourth high official of Xueyu, he didn't know what power Duan Wuya had in a real battle. Duan Wuya or Feng Chen were both very mysterious. It was said that Duan Wudao, the first high official, was terrifying but Ruolan Shan had never seen him. Duan Wudao wasn't giving him any face but it perfectly corresponded with Duan Wudao's temperament. If someone didn't annoy him, then he was good to them, if someone offended him, then he killed them. Duan Wudao thought was arrogant, violent and unruly. Lin Feng was also staring at Feng Chen in an ice-cold way. That thunder fire was much more powerful than the second envoy's thunder. Feng Chen had grown wings, extremely dangerous wings. He wouldn't be easy to fight against. Lin Feng, what are you thinking of right now? Asked Feng Chen with the thunder fire in hand while coldly staring at Lin Feng. A cold energy was emerging from his mouth as he spoke. What I am thinking of? Lin Feng was staring at Feng Chen and said, "You're not the only one who has a blood spirit." Immediately after, Lin Feng's heavenly dragon spirit roared and appeared behind him. It had 7 heads, all of which were looking at the sky roaring. Purple lights were dancing around those heads, they looked like purple snakes. Lin Feng had released his purple spirit and his celestial fang spirit at the same time as it danced to the dragon's roar. Astonishingly, in the middle of all those heads, there was a gloomy light. It was the shaman spirit which was swallowed by Lin Feng's spirit when he had killed Wu Zhen. Ha! Feng Chen frowned and looked at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng surprisingly had a dual spirit and on top of that there was a gloomy face in the middle of all the dragon heads, it also looked like a spirit. If you had the same cultivation level as me, I would be in a very critical situation indeed, but you have only broken through to the 3rd Xian Qi layer so your blood spirit is still weak. How could it be stronger than mine, when I have broken through to the 6th Xian Qi layer? Said Feng Chen arrogantly. As he stepped forwards, a black light twinkled from his wings and he disappeared from his initial position. Lin Feng had the feeling that he was fighting against a crow beast. Feng Chen's terrifying deadly energy then immediately surrounded his entire body. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered and he disappeared like the wind. Boom! A black thunder fire bombarded the atmosphere causing it to shake intensely as energy waves swept outwards in every direction. Unfortunately, Lin Feng had already escaped, he had moved back before the attack landed. You want to escape? Do you think you can? Said Feng Chen while smiling coldly. His oppressive qi invaded the atmosphere. Lin Feng's eyes were pitch black and his celestial spirit was empowering his eyes, it seemed like he could see through Feng Chen. Feng Chen was similar to Chu Zhanping, they both gained speed using the wings of their spirit, but Feng Chen had inherited it from a celestial wind beast, it was his blood spirit. His wings didn't emit a sound when he moved, so he was much more agile than Chu Zhanping, besides Feng Chen's wings were as sharp as blades, he could easily slice his enemies using his wings. The thunder fire was also terrifying. There was a chance that Lin Feng would die if it touched him. Even his deadly sword wouldn't be able to block it. After all, there was a difference of 3 cultivation layers between Lin Feng and Feng Chen. Feng Chen had a monstrous strength, he was much stronger than ordinary cultivators of the 6th Xian Qi layer. If I use the strength of my 3,000 rotations to punch through that thunder fire, my body will be destroyed, thought Lin Feng. The strength of his 3,000 rotations was extremely powerful, but it wasn't enough. He would need 6,000 rotations to be able to deal with the thunder fire. While only relying on physical strength, he would only need a single punch to kill him. Unfortunately, Lin Feng's physical strength could only complete 3,000 rotations. Lin Feng's celestial Fang's spirit would try to swallow everything, ferocious beasts and spirits. However, his celestial Fang's spirit was still too weak in comparison with the thunder fire. There was a difference of 3 cultivation layers between Lin Feng and Feng Chen. In order to defeat him, I have only one solution. I can only use my grim fire to condense a black lotus. Besides, I need to put all my pure qi into a single lotus. Otherwise, I will never have the power to kill him, thought Lin Feng while analyzing the situation. Feng Chen was incredibly powerful, and he had a blood spirit along with a difference of 3 cultivation layers between them. Feng Chen was several times stronger than the second envoy, so it would be much more difficult to fight against him. Lin Feng had no doubts about his own fighting abilities, but to fight a blood spirit with the difference of 3 cultivation layers, it wouldn't be easy. Besides, he had to be extremely careful, never giving Feng Chen the opportunity to attack him. Lin Feng was thinking and moving at the same time. His heavenly dragon spirit was roaring, and suddenly his purple spirit threw itself at Feng Chen. All the purple lights disappeared in the blink of an eye. They were destroyed by the thunder fire. Nothing of Lin Feng's purple spirit was remaining, which made Lin Feng grow even more cautious, but he was more determined than ever. Without his black lotus, he wouldn't have a chance of fighting back against Feng Chen. Chapter 514, Deadly Encounter. A strong wind was blowing. Lin Feng suddenly disappeared from his position, and Feng Chen's attack landed on the spot where Lin Feng was standing. Feng Chen's terrifying wings flapped once and he disappeared. He was following closely behind Lin Feng with tremendous speed. They were both moving extremely fast, much faster than Chu Zhanpeng. Lin Feng was far from being able to reach the same speed as Feng Chen. He could only rely on his extremely acute senses and his understanding of the wind. If he didn't, he would never be able to dodge Feng Chen's attack. Lin Feng was extremely quick when moving with the wind. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered again as he avoided Feng Chen's attack. The terrifying deadly energy within the thunder fire swept past Lin Feng's body and ripped his clothes. Lin Feng's silhouette continuously flickered and disappeared while Feng Chen was following and attacking him. At that moment, they were both moving at extreme speeds and neither of them paused for a moment. Lin Feng was well aware that he had no time to waste because Feng Chen would eventually catch him. Therefore, he released his purple spirit again, which turned into multiple purple snakes. Die! Feng Chen's silhouette flickered and he rushed towards Lin Feng again, but Lin Feng's purple snakes were already closing in on him. Feng Chen smiled coldly and raised his hand. His thunder fire destroyed Lin Feng's purple snakes in a flash. Nothing remained. Besides, Feng Chen was not slowed at all. Subtle sounds filled the air. The light of Lin Feng's deadly sword started flashing around his body. It was gloomy and sinister. Gotcha! The thunder fire and Lin Feng's deadly sword collided, diffusing a dazzling light. Immediately after, the crowd saw Lin Feng's deadly sword disperse inside the thunder fire. It had completely disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng's deadly sword was unable to block Feng Chen's thunder fire. Feng Chen is much stronger than the second envoy. The second envoy's thunder was already extremely powerful, but Feng Chen's thunder fire is infinitely stronger. Besides, he is also much faster than the second envoy, thought the crowd. At that moment, they didn't think that Lin Feng had a chance anymore. The situation looked grim for him. He would eventually be killed by Feng Chen if this continued. But Lin Feng wasn't worried. He was still fixedly staring at Feng Chen with his pitch-black eyes. He didn't look alarmed. Feng Chen was stronger than him by 3 cultivation layers, that was a fact. Lin Feng couldn't afford to be careless, he could only rely on his battle energy. After Lin Feng's sword disappeared, Feng Chen stopped. He didn't rush to attack Lin Feng anymore, he only looked at him while smiling coldly. "And now, how do you feel?" asked Feng Chen in an evil way. Lin Feng had extremely high natural abilities, but he had only broken through to the 3rd Xian Qi layer. He couldn't fight against him, who had broken through to the 6th Xian Qi layer. "You have broken through to the 6th Xian Qi layer, I have only broken through to the 3rd Xian Qi layer. I am like an infant compared to you, I really don't understand how you can act so proud, you're really shameless. The people from Tianfeng are all shameless," said Lin Feng indifferently. He released a terrifying battle energy filled with murderous intent, it seemed like it was ready to explode out. When the crowd sensed Lin Feng's battle energy, they shivered. Lin Feng was really an extraordinary person, he was both fearless and unyielding. No matter how strong his opponents were, Lin Feng remained fearless and battled until the end. Feng Chen was looking at Lin Feng with a cold glare. Even though he had a clear advantage and had broken through to the 6th Xian Qi, he was fighting against a cultivator of the 3rd Xian Qi layer and should have easily killed him. Indeed, he had no right to act proud, the battle wasn't a fair match from the beginning. However, he was feeling extremely proud of himself, it was because Lin Feng was extremely powerful, so Feng Chen had forgotten about Lin Feng's cultivation. He was regarding Lin Feng as an extremely strong cultivator, which caused him to feel proud. "Get ready to die," said Feng Chen. He joined his hands with the thunder fire he was holding. A terrifying dark light then revolved through the air. It seemed like the ground was going to explode from the power of the sphere, thunder was dancing inside the sphere. He was looking at Lin Feng in an extremely evil way, while condensing the terrifying sphere filled with deadly energy between his hands, his face was filled with killing intent. Feng Chen didn't intend to give Lin Feng a single opportunity to prolong the battle, he would continuously chase him and use his thunder fire to attack Lin Feng. If it touched Lin Feng he would turn into a pile of ashes. Who would say that people from Tianfeng were shameless then? Wasn't Ruolan Shan also looking down on him? He had surprisingly allowed the battle. Ruolan Shan was acting extremely friendly to Lin Feng, which infuriated Feng Chen, it made him furious. Therefore, Feng Chen wasn't going to be merciful to Lin Feng, so he immediately started using his most powerful attack. He wanted to crush Lin Feng and show to Ruolan Shan how strong he was. Lin Feng was fixedly staring at that deadly sphere of thunder fire. Of course, Lin Feng could sense the incredible destructive power it contained. Hu! Lin Feng took a deep breath and released his pure qi which filled the air. It transformed into flames which illuminated the surroundings. The terrifying flames changed into black flames and moved towards Lin Feng's hand to form a black lotus. Lin Feng wasn't going to restrain himself, he immediately released all his pure qi and formed it into a black lotus, it looked grim and deadly. The crowd was shaking. Lin Feng was also furious at Feng Chen. He surprisingly used all his pure qi to condense the black lotus. He was using everything he had to attack Feng Chen. Lin Feng's black lotus was the opposite of Feng Chen's sphere, it was dark, black, oppressive, and it wasn't dazzling like Feng Chen's sphere. Nobody had doubts when it came to the power of the black lotus though. Feng Chen also stared at Lin Feng's black lotus, at first he was surprised, but then smiled evilly. "That's the best attack you have. Since that's the case, I will destroy it and then you can die while knowing you were never my match," said Feng Chen in an evil tone while smiling. Lin Feng's empowered black lotus was stronger than Feng Chen's normal thunder fire, but his cultivation was much higher than Lin Feng. Feng Chen started to empower his thunder fire with his pure qi would be stronger than what Lin Feng used. "Die!" shouted Feng Chen furiously while throwing himself towards Lin Feng at full speed. His speed was inconceivable. Wind! Lin Feng's facial expression looked cold, he moved on the wind and rose into the air. He didn't attack Feng Chen and dodged instead. The crowd was astonished. Lin Feng still wasn't fighting. A banner appeared. It was Lin Feng's sun banner. Besides, that banner was absorbing sunlight hidden behind the dark sky. Lin Feng then raised the hand which contained the black lotus, his body shook and the fire from the banner abruptly rushed into the black lotus. Lin Feng was borrowing power from the sun banner. The sunlight was being absorbed into the sun pattern on the banner. The banner was filled with sunlight and was illuminating the dark sky. It seemed like Lin Feng's banner had become the sun. How terrifying! What kind of skills did Lin Feng learn? Astonishingly, he could borrow the strength of the sun. The crowd was surprised. Lin Feng wasn't retreating, he was stalling for time to unleash all of his strength. His black lotus could still become much stronger. Feng Chen raised his head and looked at Lin Feng in an evil way. The wind character between his eyebrows was shining in a peculiar way. Lin Feng, die! Shouted Feng Chen furiously. His speed increased and he dashed into the sky. Die! Lin Feng, this time, didn't dodge, he moved towards the incoming Feng Chen. His terrifying deadly energy filled the air, and his sword qi was lacerating the atmosphere as he moved. The entire atmosphere was filled with deadly energy. Boom! A loud explosion filled the sky which made people shiver. A dazzling light appeared in the sky. It was the result of the collision between the grim black lotus and the dazzling thunderfire. A terrifying black light spread across the sky as far as the eyes could see. The black light was flashing and twinkling. Feng Chen and Lin Feng had disappeared for a few moments as the black light spread in every direction. Piercingly sharp sounds filled the air. Feng Chen's sphere and Lin Feng's black lotus were in a constant battle of power. They were both fighting to destroy the opposing power. Besides, a terrifying energy filled the skies. How terrifying! The thunderfire and the black lotus were both extremely powerful. They wouldn't stop until the other was destroyed. Nobody could say which of the attacks would beat the other. They had destroyed everything in their path and their energy filled the sky. It created a dazzling light in the sky. The crowd had to move back unceasingly. They could only retreat into the distance to avoid the violent energy that was being released. The terrifying energy which resulted from those attacks even made a huge crevice appear beneath their point of collision. It was astonishing. Chapter 5:15, Burn and Swallow. The deadly energy that was blowing against Lin Feng and Feng Chen's faces made them look particularly hideous. Dazzling lights filled the air around them. Besides, under that dazzling light, they were both attacking, one of them from above and the other from below. They were both staring at the other trying to influence the battle with sheer determination. One of them would die but neither would flinch. Lin Feng, today you are going to die. Said Feng Chen coldly. He sounded extremely confident that Lin Feng would die by his hands. Me? Die? Lin Feng had a resplendent smile on his face and then said in an ice-cold tone, "You are too arrogant." "I am arrogant because I am strong enough to be arrogant. You used all your pure qi to condense the black lotus. How do you plan to fight against me now?" Said Feng Chen, whose voice seemed to harmonize with the sound of energy ripping through the atmosphere. A terrifying energy was still entering the air. At that moment, Feng Chen raised his left hand and more thunderfire twinkled. It was terrifying. Feng Chen will be merciless and Lin Feng has already used all his strength. The onlookers were shaking. This time, Lin Feng was in a critical situation. Lin Feng was smiling. He seemingly found the situation very amusing. His heavenly dragon roared and merged with Lin Feng's purple spirit. The gigantic dragon was staring at Feng Chen. Humph! Feng Chen groaned coldly and spread his bestial wings once again. He then started to beat his wings slowly. They would be able to easily block Lin Feng's spirit. Shaman spirit, thought Lin Feng, and a gloomy white light emerged from the shaman head. It was trying to influence Feng Chen, which caused him to shiver. A soul attack? Feng Chen was surprised at first and then immediately said, "Do you think that you can influence me with such little strength? I cannot be influenced with such petty tricks. Give up." Feng Chen abruptly moved while his thunderfire sphere continuously attacked the Black Lotus. It was in an unceasing battle for dominance. Feng Chen thought that he only needed to stop Lin Feng's Black Lotus and then attack when Lin Feng had no more pure qi left to defend himself. "Oh, is that so?" said Lin Feng mockingly. An endless ocean of surplus souls poured out of his body and entered the shaman spirit. A terrifying soul strength emerged from the shaman spirit and attacked Feng Chen's soul, which made him shiver. The wind character written between his eyebrows suddenly grew much weaker. Feng Chen's soul was being attacked. It started fluctuating in an insane way. His thoughts were growing blurry, it was even affecting the thunderfire sphere in his hand. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng while unleashing a small qi sword he condensed with a small amount of qi he had saved. It was incredibly sharp and deadly. "Ha!" The crowd was stupefied and their pupils shrank. Lin Feng had the advantage at that moment and was counterattacking. In the blur which was Feng Chen's mind, he could feel a sharp pure qi which made Feng Chen gnash his teeth. Without hesitation, he immediately unleashed more thunderfire which bombarded the atmosphere, creating explosion sounds as it crashed in every direction. The pure qi Lin Feng had just unleashed was instantly destroyed, but Lin Feng still had a smile on the corner of his mouth. He looked like he was going to burst into laughter at any moment. Because Feng Chen was affected by the shaman spirit and his thoughts were blurry, he had countered Lin Feng's pure qi with a monstrously terrifying thunderfire. How stupid! "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. His long hair was fluttering in the wind. While floating in the air, he started to release his terrifying deadly energy. Lin Feng moved back. His Black Lotus was still fighting for dominance, but at the same time, his heavenly dragon roared and threw itself at Feng Chen. Feng Chen abruptly bit his lips as the pain made him regain consciousness a little. Then his terrifying thunderfire started twinkling and flashing around his body again as he then released everything towards Lin Feng's heavenly dragon. Boom! An explosion filled the air and Lin Feng's body was immediately oppressed. The Black Lotus disappeared under the energy of the thunderfire sphere. However, Lin Feng didn't stop at all. He continued moving. He had filled his arms with 3,000 rotations of physical strength. Boom! Explosion sounds filled the air. Lin Feng's heavenly dragon was crazily fighting against the thunderfire. Besides, while Feng Chen was busy blocking the dragon, he didn't have time to pay attention to Lin Feng, who quickly unleashed punch after punch onto Feng Chen's chest unceasingly. Feng Chen's entire body was shaking insanely. It seemed like his chest was going to explode. Each punch left him with broken bones and internal injuries. Lin Feng's physical strength was incredible. It was the exact same strength that he had used a moment before to crush the head of the second envoy, but it could only injure Feng Chen. Blood started gushing from Feng Chen's mouth as he stared at Lin Feng's blurry image. His wings started flapping as he moved to escape. "You want to escape?" shouted Lin Feng in an ice-cold tone. His heavenly dragon roared furiously and arrived in front of Feng Chen. It immediately constricted his body, which stopped him from escaping Lin Feng's onslaught. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously again. Lin Feng immediately started punching him and bombarding his body with incredible strength. Feng Chen's body was being projected back by Lin Feng's fists. Boom! Kacha! Boom! Kacha! Boom! Kacha! Terrifying impact sounds filled the air, followed by the sound of bones breaking. Feng Chen's body was tightly wrapped up. He couldn't even move his wings anymore, and each time Lin Feng punched him, more bones would break. His body was bestial and powerful, but he couldn't bear such an intense onslaught. "Ah!" Feng Chen howled loudly and painfully. A terrifying jet-black light emerged from his body and burst into the skies. His blood seemed like it was boiling. He suddenly looked even more ferocious and bestial. Get lost. Lin Feng continued punching him over and over. Feng Chen kept trying to flap his wings to move, but couldn't. Banner! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. His banner appeared in his hand and at the same time he ran forwards and attacked Feng Chen with his banner's flames. At that moment, Feng Chen's qi started violently boiling in his body. He was already half dead. His body was soaked with blood and he seemed to be driven into madness. The strength of his blood was boiling chaotically and merging with his soul. A dazzling light appeared around his body, he felt like he was being burnt alive. He raised his head and saw Lin Feng above him. It was the flames from Lin Feng's banner. You cherished the memory of your ancestor but his glory isn't yours. Back then, Tian Feng was able to drink the blood of that beast, but you cannot even use your blood spirit properly. What gives you the right to cherish that memory? Since you cannot use your blood spirit, then give it to me. Said Lin Feng slowly. His body moved along with his banner filled with flames, then it immediately enveloped Feng Chen's entire body. Feng Chen was imprisoned inside the banner in a flash. A terrifying inferno emerged and began to burn his body. Ah! Feng Chen gave a horrible shriek, he wanted to leave the banner, but he couldn't because the strength of the banner was too powerful. With his current strength, he couldn't escape it. He could only remain in that scorching inferno while his power was slowly absorbed. Roar! Lin Feng dragon spirit roared and moved towards the banner, it then immediately sucked the blood spirit from the banner and swallowed it. The banner was absorbing his body in qi while the dragon was swallowing his blood spirit. Besides, Lin Feng's soul was slowly driving Feng Chen's soul insane, he couldn't do anything anymore. The only thing he could do was to die. Since you cannot use your blood spirit, then give it to me. Those words resonated in everyone's mind, how unbelievable. At that moment, it was too shocking. They were stunned. Not only did Lin Feng want to win the battle but he also wanted to absorb Feng Chen's blood spirit. He was burning Feng Chen's body alive and swallowing his blood spirit, it was so cruel. Lin Feng's spirit could immediately swallow Feng Chen's blood spirit, the banner had already neutralized his thunder fire, Lin Feng's actions were extremely cruel. He had only broken through to the third Xian Qi layer, but what about the future? After breaking through to the Tian Qi layer, he would become a frightening existence. Likey's note, I made a mistake on the previous chapters where it says, Great Competition of Shuiyu, it was supposed to be, Great Competition of Shuiyu. Shuiyu is the city where Lin Feng is at and Shuiyu is the bigger continent. Chapter 5:16, The end of Tian Feng. The crowd remained motionless, looking at Feng Chen's body being engulfed by flames inside the banner, nobody said anything but their hearts were pounding. He was dead, the prince of Tian Feng had died. Soon, nothing would remain of him, his corporeal body was being engulfed in flames and his blood spirit was swallowed. The other people from Tian Feng were astonished, their hearts were racing, their prince had died. Almost all of the strongest cultivators brought from Tian Feng were dead. And they had all been killed by one person, Lin Feng. After a short period, the scream stopped, Lin Feng recalled his spirit and the banner began to shrink until it disappeared. Lin Feng looked exhausted, he was completely drained of energy. On the ground, the people from Tian Feng glanced at each other and immediately started moving back, they wanted to leave. Their prince was dead, the second head envoy had died, even the third envoy had died. Their strongest cultivators had already lost their lives. They had no reason to stay anymore, it wasn't worth it. They had to leave as soon as possible otherwise they might die too. Lin Feng coldly glanced at them. Where are you going? Don't you think that it's a bit late to think of leaving? Lin Feng immediately as he started running towards the people who were leaving. The 9 Haruka skill made 3,000 rotations through his body, Lin Feng immediately struck one of the escaping cultivators. It was the fourth envoy of Tian Feng. With his strength, he could have fought against Lin Feng in his exhausted state, but he didn't feel like fighting after watching the previous battles. He just wanted to escape with his life, but Lin Feng immediately attacked him and crushed his skull. What a miserable death. When the others saw that the fourth envoy had died, they had felt even more dispirited. They only wanted to escape. However, at that moment, many people who were hiding rushed out, as if everything was planned from the beginning. These people were all wearing black cloaks and holding spears in their hands. Their deadly energies were all extremely brutal. Without hesitation, they immediately attacked. A terrifying qi invaded the atmosphere. It was deadly qi. Those cultivators in black cloaks were attacking together. Very quickly, the people from Tianfeng all collapsed and the palace was filled with blood. Lin Feng stopped moving. Since other people were attacking, he just let them do the work. All those people from Tianfeng would die there. Lin Feng glanced at Duan Wuya. He looked calm and serene. He was looking at the cultivators in the black cloaks as they fought. He didn't prevent them from attacking and did nothing but watch. Lin Feng obviously understood that those assassins were Duan Wuya's servants. If Duan Wuya hadn't given them the order, they wouldn't have made a move. Duan Wuya wanted all the people from Tianfeng to die in Xueyu. The ambassadors from the Dragon Mountain Empire also glanced at Duan Wuya in a deep and meaningful way. The second prince of Xueyu was mysterious and cruel. When he saw that Feng Chen was dead, he just gave his faction the order to massacre everyone from Tianfeng. He was extremely cruel. He didn't want any of them to return to Tianfeng. How miserable. Almost all of the geniuses from Tianfeng had come with the ambassadors from the Dragon Mountain Empire. They hadn't thought that they would all die in Xueyu. This time, the result was catastrophic for Tianfeng. The envoys were the most outstanding young cultivators of Tianfeng and 6 of the 7 had died. The incredibly strong Prince Feng Chen had also died. Put their bodies away and clean everything, leave no trace. I don't want the bloody landscape to affect Mr. Ruo's mood. After all the people from Tianfeng died, Duan Wuya gave his servants the order to clean and tidy the location. In a flash, the corpses disappeared and the ground was cleaned as if nothing had occurred. After they disappeared, Duan Wuya looked at Ruolan Shan in a respectful way while smiling. Ruolan Shan remained silent. He didn't say anything. Instead he was looking at Lin Feng. At that moment, Lin Feng's eyes were closed. His chest was pounding and his qi was fluctuating violently. It seemed like he was trying to recover his strength. A moment before, he had used all his pure qi to unleash his Black Lotus and final attacks. After that, he had had to use his spirits and his physical strength to kill Feng Chen. Everything happened in a matter of moments. He had remained fearless while fighting, but he didn't have the power to continue fighting if he did not succeed. A moment after, Lin Feng's qi started to stabilize again and his breath grew steady. He then opened his eyes and looked around. Duan Wuya walked towards Lin Feng, smiling in a warm and friendly way. He then asked, "Lin Feng, are you alright? I just used a lot of energy, it's nothing serious," said Lin Feng in a low and deep voice while nodding. "Go to Xianyes and have a good rest there. Tonight, we will eat at my palace," said Duan Wuya with a particular smile. Lin Feng's eyes flashed and he immediately nodded. "All right, I am going to Xianyes." Lin Feng needed time to rest. He had too many enemies in the city and had no more pure qi remaining to fight them. He was weak and only had his bodily strength, so he couldn't go outside. Coming across his enemies would be a catastrophe for him. He needed to recover, so going to Xianyes was a perfect idea. "All right," said Duan Wuya while smiling and nodding. Lin Feng turned around and said to Ruolan Shan, "Please excuse me, Mr. Ruo. Go, young man, have a good rest. I will be waiting for you to recover," replied Ruolan Shan while smiling at Lin Feng in a respectful way. It wasn't just that he needed Lin Feng to participate in the great competition of Xueyu, he could see a great future ahead. If Lin Feng didn't die, he would surpass Ruolan Shan and would become a shining star. He had to keep walking down the path of cultivation and become stronger. Ruolan Shan was from Dragon Mountain, he had lots of things on mind. When he attached importance to a genius, he was never wrong. In his life, Ruolan Shan had seen many geniuses who eventually surpassed him, he respected those geniuses who could soar past him. In the continent of the 9 clouds, it was very normal to be surpassed by others. In the continent of the 9 clouds, people didn't necessarily respect elders, what they respected were strong cultivators. After that, Lin Feng left and went to Duan Xinye's residence. She was playing the zither, and when she saw Lin Feng arrive, she was extremely happy. She immediately put her zither aside and ran towards Lin Feng, but quickly noticed that he looked deathly pale and tired. She frowned with worry. "Lin Feng, what's wrong? What happened?" asked Duan Xinye while grabbing Lin Feng's hand. She was very worried. "Nothing. I just killed Feng Chen and used too much energy to do so," said Lin Feng while smiling and shaking his head. He then started caressing Duan Xinye's cheeks, which made a certain warmth invade his body. It felt very pleasant. In the continent of the 9 clouds, because women were cultivators, their skin was magnificent and pure. Women in the previous world were far from being able to compete with female cultivators who had purified their body with qi. They looked exquisite and delicate. It was actually the case for all cultivators, even men, but particularly women. Duan Xinye looked delicate and beautiful. Lin Feng, while caressing Duan Xinye's cheeks, couldn't help but pinch her cheek, which made her lower her head timidly. She remained silent. When Lin Feng saw that Duan Xinye looked timid, he smiled in an even more magnificent way. Duan Xinye's beautiful eyes and smile were more resplendent than the sun. She could easily calm Lin Feng. Not only was her beauty out of the ordinary, but her heart was pure too. She was extremely enchanting, bewitching and fascinating. "You killed the prince of Tianfeng, Feng Chen?" suddenly asked Duan Xinye while raising her head. She was just realizing what Lin Feng had just said. "Indeed, he sent people to kill me, so I couldn't let him off." "What did my brother and the people from Dragon Mountain say?" "Your brother killed the others and the people from Dragon Mountain didn't say anything," said Lin Feng while smiling, which relieved Duan Xinye. When she saw that Lin Feng was covered with sweat and that his clothes were dirty, she couldn't help but say, "Lin Feng, go to my private hot spring and have a bath. You need to rest." "All right," said Lin Feng, whose eyes were twinkling. He was looking directly at Duan Xinye, which made her lower her head again. She didn't dare meet his eyes. That hot spring was the place where she bathed daily. She was a woman, it was an unwritten rule that women and men would not share bathing areas, but she was telling Lin Feng to bathe there. It meant that she felt closer to Lin Feng than before. But Duan Xinye's heart was Lin Feng's already. She didn't mind, even if she was shy. For Lin Feng, she was ready to give up her status of a princess. She grabbed Lin Feng's arm and snuggled up to him. Duan Xinye was caressing Lin Feng's arm. At that moment, the dignified Princess Duan Xinye was acting like a little bird. She looked cute and helpless, and her smile was resplendent. Chapter 5:17 Obscenities. Lin Feng was lying in the hot spring as the hot water caressed his body, making it feel extremely pleasant. There were many purity stones around the spring. The qi continuously penetrated into Lin Feng's body, which quickly filled his qi reserves. At that moment, Lin Feng's eyes were tightly closed. His cosmos-burning sun was surrounding his brightly reddened body. His body was diffusing a red light that was refracting on the water of the hot spring. It looked like a dreamland. What Lin Feng didn't know was that on his body, there was an extremely eye-catching sun pattern, and it was reflecting itself onto the water. At the same time, Lin Feng's incredible physical strength was also revolving through his body. Besides, apart from the physical strength, there was a scorching heat which was causing the water to evaporate unceasingly. The physical strength and the boiling water caused the air surrounding him to grow more turbulent. Time was passing slowly and a terrifying physical strength continued flowing into Lin Feng's body. Something extremely strange was flowing within Lin Feng's veins and arteries, it seemed like the blood in his body was boiling. At the same time, a peculiar light started rotating in cycles. It was the 9 Haruka's skill rotating inside Lin Feng's body. The red lights quickly surrounded Lin Feng's body and the 9 Haruka's rotations merged together, it was extremely strange. The water around him started boiling more rapidly. The entire atmosphere was filled with steam which contained a red light within. Duan Xinyi who was in her room could sense the heat flowing from the hot spring. She was stupefied and felt the temperature drastically rise, it seemed like the air temperature had increased in an instant. Her beautiful and limpid eyes revealed a shocked expression. Wasn't Lin Feng in the hot spring? Why was it so hot? Her beautiful eyes wavered as she slowly walked towards the room where the hot spring was. She was slightly hesitant but in the end she still entered the room. Duan Xinyi entered the room and was stupefied. Was Lin Feng really in the water? At that moment, there was so much steam, but she could see a faintly discernible sun pattern. On Lin Feng's body and reflected on the water, there was the sun pattern which seemed to be spinning. There were 2 extremely powerful strengths which were rotating through Lin Feng's body. Duan Xinyi was astonished and cried out in surprise. What kind of skill was Lin Feng practicing? What could cause him to look so strange? It seemed like he was practicing cultivation, but with the strength of several people at the same time. Duan Xinyi calmly crouched on the edge of the hot spring and fixedly stared at Lin Feng. She was looking towards him the same way a woman would look at her husband. She wished that Lin Feng could always stay by her side, she would let him cultivate in peace and would be happy to be with him, how wonderful would that be? Lin Feng was absorbing all the qi inside the purity stones like a glutton and they were slowly disappearing. The physical strength in Lin Feng's body gradually started rotating at a slower pace until Lin Feng finally opened his eyes, sharp dazzling lights were twinkling in his eyes. A portion of the strength from that blood spirit was absorbed by my celestial Fang spirit while the other portion was injected into my body. But that blood spirit is not compatible with my blood, so I cannot use it, however it was still very useful. It helped me rotate the 9 Haruka's skill. With its help I gained the strength of 3,800 rotations, thought Lin Feng while clenching his fist and emitting a cracking sound. Another 200 rotations and Lin Feng would have the strength of 4,000 rotations, he would easily be able to defeat cultivators of the 5th Xian Qi layer using his physical body. Lin Feng raised his head and saw Duan Xinyi, he then smiled and said, "You're peeping on me?" I just sensed that it was extremely hot here so I came to check. I wasn't peeping on you, said Duan Xinyi whose cheeks had turned bright red. She would have lost face if she admitted that she was peeping on Lin Feng while he was bathing, but she realized that she had been peeping unconsciously. She never even considered that she was peeping on him. You are calmly crouching there, so you've been here for a while, watching me. If that's not peeping, what it is? When Lin Feng saw that Duan Xinyi was blushing, he couldn't help but tease her while laughing. Duan Xinyi's cheeks were even redder at that moment. She didn't know what to say. Xinyi, don't you want to come and bathe with me? Said Lin Feng in a trembling voice. Duan Xinyi blinked and stared at Lin Feng with wide eyes. She immediately turned her head and ran away, her chest pounding violently. Lin Feng was so indecent. When Lin Feng saw Duan Xinyi ran away, he smiled. He stood up and his body felt very comfortable. Lin Feng climbed out of the hot spring, put some clothes on and headed to Duan Xinyi's room. At that moment, Duan Xinyi's face was still bright red. She looked cute and bewitching. Lin Feng noticed that Duan Xinyi didn't dare look him in the eyes. She obviously understood that Lin Feng was just making obscene jokes, but those kind of dirty jokes didn't make her unhappy, it was actually the opposite, she was delighted. She was even slightly tempted. Xin, is it already evening? Asked Lin Feng. Duan Xin shook her head and said, no, I still have time for a bath too. Then we can leave together towards Duanwu Mountain. You're also going to bathe? Said Lin Feng while staring at Duan Xin and winking. Duan Xin was stupefied, that guy really enjoyed teasing her. So what? Who said I can't? Said Duan Xin. Of course you can, but a moment ago you were peeping on me, so I should also get to peep on you while you have a bath. Said Lin Feng while smiling, which stupefied Duan Xin even more. Duan Xin was speechless. How come she had never noticed that Lin Feng was a pervert? Well, wouldn't it be fair? Then you won't owe me anything for peeping on me. Said Lin Feng while bursting into laughter. Duan Xin was stunned and her cheeks were burning, she then immediately ran away. Lin Feng was too much of a tease. When Lin Feng saw that Duan Xin felt uneasy, he smiled and shouted, Xin, I'm waiting for you here. Duan Xin went into the hot water of the hot spring and didn't reply to Lin Feng. She didn't dare. Chapter 518, Who Will Have Her? At the top of the Duanwu mountain chain, in a magnificent pavilion under the stars, Duan Wuxia was with the people from the Dragon Mountain Empire. Shockingly, they were also joined by Yu Tianming and Yu Tianchen. Lin Feng and Duan Xin quickly arrived arm in arm. When Yu Tianming saw that the two of them were so close, he looked surprised and upset. Yu Tianchen, on the other hand, looked furious. He was glaring at Lin Feng with overwhelming aggression. It looked like he wanted to attack Lin Feng where he stood. When Lin Feng arrived at the pavilion, he quickly noticed that Yu Tianchen was glaring at him. He only spared him a single glance, which made Yu Tianchen gnash his teeth in anger. Back at the lovesick forest, Yu Tianchen was introduced to Lin Feng as a young master, and Lin Feng was just a nobody at the Ling Qi layer with a little talent. Yu Tianchen used to despise him. It was also the first time that Lin Feng met Duan Xin. Yu Tianchen had always thought that nothing would ever happen between Lin Feng and Duan Xin because Lin Feng was a nobody and the princess was far above him. He didn't believe that Lin Feng had what it took to be with the princess. However, now, Lin Feng had broken through to the Xian Qi layer, killed Chu Zhanpeng, destroyed the Haoyu sect and the Ice and Snow Mountain village. He had even annihilated the holy courtyard of Shuiyu. Even more shocking was that Lin Feng was the son of Yu Tianchen's aunt, Yu Menghe. In such a short time, Lin Feng had easily surpassed Yu Tianchen in cultivation and status. Lin Feng only needed to send a quick glacé at Yu Tianchen to silence him. He didn't even dare to look Lin Feng in the eyes. That's life, sometimes fate has cruel tricks in store for people. Things could change very quickly. Yu Tianchen had never thought that such a day would come. Lin Feng glanced at Yu Tianchen for 1 second, which immediately made him lower his head. Then, Lin Feng glanced at Yu Tianming. Yu Tianming was the second high official of Shuiyu. He was undoubtedly strong and had the blood spirit of the Yu clan. It was possible to consider him as Lin Feng's cousin. He could be seen as his senior. Yu Tianming had nothing against Lin Feng before, but at that moment, he wasn't looking at Lin Feng in a friendly way. Instead he was looking at him with cold eyes, and he was also glancing at Duan Xin. After having a bath, Duan Xin had put on a long ceremonial cheongsam which was trailing across the ground. Her beautiful hair was floating on her shoulders. Even though she hadn't put any jewelry on, she still looked extremely beautiful. People didn't even dare look directly at her. She looked like a goddess. Yu Tianming wasn't the only one who was looking at Duan Xin. The people from Dragon Mountain were also looking at her. Some people looked at Duan Xinyi with admiration in their eyes while some others had a strange expression on their face. Of course, they only glanced at her for a second, otherwise it would seem impolite. Besides, infuriating Lin Feng wouldn't be a good idea. Lin Feng, Xinyi, we were waiting for you. Hurry up and sit down, said Duan Wuya. Ruolan Shan and his friends were sitting at the main seats like last time. This time, the seat opposite of Duan Wuya was empty, it was for Duan Xinyi and Lin Feng. Lin Feng sat down on a seat that was the same as Duan Xinyi's. Duan Xinyi was a princess, so it was normal for her to sit on one of the most important seats as well. Besides, Lin Feng had come with Duan Xinyi. If he had sat on a seat lower than hers, it would have meant that the two of them were not equal. Lin Feng would, of course, never do that. Instead, he sat down on the same seat as the princess. Alright, Mr. Roa, Lin Feng and Xinyi are here too now, let's start, said Duan Wuya while smiling. Ruolan Shan slightly nodded and some servants immediately brought food and placed it on the redwood tables while bowing respectfully in front of each guest. Mr. Roa, these days I haven't been a good host. Please forgive me. Let's forget about everything that happened and toast, said Duan Wuya politely while raising his glass. What are you talking about, Duan Wuya? You've been a great host, replied Ruolan Shan politely while toasting with him and downing his glass. He surprisingly adopted a carefree and unrestrained countenance. Alright, everybody, we're all together, which is rare, let's toast, said Ruolan Shan while smiling and raising his glass. Immediately after, he looked at Duan Xinyi and Lin Feng and said, Lin Feng, you are extremely talented, Xinyi you're as beautiful as a goddess, you are a perfect match, let's toast. Thank you, Mr. Ruo, replied Lin Feng politely. Lin Feng and everybody else then raised their glasses while looking at Ruolan Shan. After downing their glasses, everybody put their glasses on the tables, however. Somebody interrupted, which surprised everybody. They turned their heads and saw the one making the strange sound, Yu Tianchen. Yu Tianchen was staring at Lin Feng furiously, he also looked extremely jealous. Lin Feng is just a shitty beggar. How could he be a good match for Duan Xinyi? My big brother Yu Tianming is the second high official, and on top of that there is a marriage agreement between the Yu clan and the Duan clan. My brother should be with her, not Lin Feng, said Yu Tianchen in an ice-cold tone. Actually, he was the one who liked Duan Xinyi and had always hoped to be with her, but after Yu Tianming returned, he threw away those dreams. The Yu clan wanted Yu Tianming to marry Duan Xinyi instead of him. But he had never thought that Lin Feng would cause trouble and engage in an intimate relationship with Duan Xinyi. He wouldn't have thought that Duan Xinyi would ever accept Lin Feng. Of course, Yu Tianchen was furious, he couldn't get her, so how could he allow Lin Feng to have her? Ruolan Shan was stupefied and looked at Yu Tianchen. Yu Tianchen was being rude. Immediately after, Ruolan Shan looked at Duan Wuya again, but Duan Wuya lowered his head and sipped his drink while remaining silent. He surprisingly said nothing. Ruolan Shan suddenly looked particularly interested. Was there a marriage agreement between Yu Tianming and Duan Xinyi? Lin Feng turned to Yu Tianchen and looked at him with piercing eyes, his eyes seemed as sharp as swords, which made Yu Tianchen gulp. A marriage agreement? Who decided on that? Said Lin Feng. Since he was with Duan Xinyi, how could he let other people tarnish her image? No matter what, Duan Xinyi belonged to Lin Feng, even if there was a marriage agreement, Lin Feng didn't care. It is an agreement between my clan, the Yu clan, and the Duan clan. Our ancestors agreed on that marriage contract in order to keep our blood spirit pure and strengthen future generations. Besides, her status is extremely high, how could you be her match? Yu Tianchen's voice was cold. He wasn't lying though, everything he said was true. The Yu clan and the Duan clan had agreed on a marriage contract for their descendants. This caused Yu Menghe and Lin Hai a lot of problems, because the Duan clan wanted one of their clan to marry Yu Menghe. They were infuriated by the fact that she wanted to marry Lin Hai. That was also why the Duan clan tried everything to kill Lin Hai. The ancestors of the two clans had agreed on a marriage contract, in order to keep their bloodline pure. Also, the offspring with a mixture of two blood spirits would be even stronger than the past generations. Do you want to compare our blood and see whose is pure? Do you want to see which one of us has the stronger blood spirit? Said Lin Feng in cold tone. Yu Tianchen was stupefied. Indeed, Lin Feng also had the heavenly dragon spirit, he inherited it from Yu Menghe. In terms of bloodline and blood spirit, Lin Feng was much stronger than Yu Tianchen. Yu Tianchen couldn't compete with Lin Feng in any way. You're not a member of the Yu clan, said Yu Tianchen while pulling a long face. Lin Feng groaned coldly and said, I never said that I was a member of the Yu clan. You just said that the marriage contract was about keeping both bloodlines pure. Since that was the agreement, whether I am a member of the Yu clan or not has nothing to do with the marriage agreement. I have the purest blood in this generation of the Yu clan. If I am not a good match for Duan Xinyi, then who in the Yu clan is? Said Lin Feng aggressively. Who in the Yu clan could be a better match for Duan Xinyi? At that moment, Lin Feng had to struggle. If he didn't fight for himself and Duan Xinyi, everybody would think that Lin Feng was a loser, and it would be a humiliation for her. Therefore, Lin Feng had to act aggressively. At that moment, Yu Tianchen didn't know what to say and didn't even dare look at Lin Feng. What a joke! How could a marriage contract be more important than Xinye's wish? Besides, if all the people in the Yu clan are weak-willed like you, then what? Because of the marriage contract, Xinye should marry a loser. Is that what you mean? Added Lin Feng, his words were like swords. Yu Tianchen raised his hand and stared at Lin Feng. He then pointed at Lin Feng and said, You. Stop that. Yu Tianchen hadn't even finished when Lin Feng shouted furiously while releasing a monstrous deadly energy which crashed into Yu Tianchen's arm. He was shaking from head to toe. His arm was projected backwards and he felt like he was suffocating. Chapter 519, Fighting over a woman. Yu Tianchen looked glum, he was pulling a long face and fixedly staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng had just shouted 2 words and Yu Tianchen was scared to death. His arm had even been propelled backwards. He had just lost a great deal of face. Lin Feng calmed himself and recalled his deadly energy back into his body. He then looked at Yu Tianchen in a mocking way. I said that you were a weakling. I don't think that I'm wrong, you are trash. Said Lin Feng while smiling coldly. Yu Tianchen's face looked more and more hideous. He couldn't refute Lin Feng's words. He was scared to death. How could he deny Lin Feng's words? Lin Feng, stop bullying Yu Tianchen. Said Yu Tianming while glancing at Lin Feng. You know perfectly who started this. I am bullying him because he tried to bully me first. Said Lin Feng coldly. He then continued, he's older than me and he's not as courageous as me. He's a waste of space. He calls me a beggar, isn't that a humiliation to me? What is he even doing here? He shouldn't even be allowed to sit with us. He's a disgrace to the Yu clan. Said Lin Feng whose words were as sharp as needles. Yu Tianming and Yu Tianchen glanced at each other while remaining silent. Yu Tianchen was, indeed, older than Lin Feng, but he was lacking in every way. Lin Feng's cultivation was much higher, but surprisingly Yu Tianchen dared to insult and provoke Lin Feng. Since it's that way, let me tell you something, there is really a marriage contract between Duan Xinyi and me. You two are too close. It's not good. You're tarnishing her image. Said Yu Tianming which stupefied Lin Feng. Lin Feng pulled a long face and said, who decided that you were going to marry Xin? Xin herself? Or your clan, the Yu clan? Tonight, I came here to propose her. Said Yu Tianming while fixedly staring at Lin Feng. He had come to propose Duan Xin. Lin Feng looked ice-cold and said, "Oh, is that so, and whom are you going to ask for Xin's hand?" "Of course, I cannot decide alone." Those days, the king never showed himself, the crown prince didn't care about what happened outside either. The second prince and Xin are siblings, so he is the one who has the authority when the king is not here. I came here to ask the second prince for Xin's hand. My grandfather, the head of the Yu clan, will come to ask as well. He will come tonight on the same behalf. Said Yu Tianming slowly, which made Lin Feng's pupils shrink. He looked puzzled and then looked at Duan Wuya. It seemed like Duan Wuya had asked Lin Feng to bring Duan Xin along with him for some reason, and it was precisely to find a solution to his problems, to find a husband for Duan Xin. Could Duan Wuya accept their marriage contract? If Xin doesn't agree, who else could? Said Lin Feng in an ice-cold tone. I will never accept that marriage contract. My brother won't either. Said Duan Xin while looking at Duan Wuya and hoping that he would support her. She, of course, knew of the marriage agreement between the Yu clan and the Duan clan, but she only had Lin Feng in her heart. No matter what, she would never want to marry Yu Tianming. Even if the Duan clan accepted the marriage, she wouldn't. Princess, why talk so hastily? Yu Tianming is a genius, he is an experienced and talented cultivator. He's the second high official, he is a perfect match for you, unlike the other one. Said a loud voice at that moment, it came from far away in the distance, but that person was approaching. Immediately after, at the foot of the Duanwu mountain, a silhouette appeared and was slowly approaching. His hair was extremely white. It was the head of the Yu clan, Yu Shan. Yu Shan then arrived in front of the pavilion, he nodded at Ruolan Shan and said, Ruolan Shan, Your Excellency, I am disturbing your celebration, please don't be offended. There is absolutely no problem, these are your personal matters. Said Ruolan Shan. He wasn't offended, his voice sounded calm. Yu Shan slightly nodded and immediately looked at Duan Wuya. Second Prince, Your Highness, there is a marriage contract between Yu Tianming and Duan Xin. Our ancestors decided on it, you know better than anyone else. Besides, I have personally come here to propose the marriage alliance. Your Highness also knows that Yu Tianming is my grandson and he has inherited our blood spirit. He has extremely high natural abilities and cultivates diligently. He is 23, which is a perfect age to marry the princess. Besides, the princess is now a grown woman as well. She is beautiful and Yu Tianming loves her, so I came here to propose a marriage. I hope that you will not blame me, I also hope that you will respect our ancestors' agreement and accept the proposal of Yu Tianming and Duan Xin's union. Said Yu Shan with assurance and composure. With those reasons, Duan Wuya had no reason to refuse the marriage. Duan Wuya raised his head and glanced at Lin Feng, he then slightly smiled and said, Yu Shan, please sit down first, let's take our time with such matters. No, it's not necessary, Yu Shan, just want to respect our ancestors' agreement. You only need to say, yes, and I'll be satisfied. I will then immediately leave and prepare for the wedding ceremony. Said Yu Shan while forcing Duan Wuya to give his answer. It seemed like there was no choice, if Duan Wuya didn't reply, it would be the same as violating their ancestors' agreement. It would mean that Duan Wuya didn't respect their ancestors. All the people involved were of high status and everybody could understand what Yu Shan meant, so they were all looking at Duan Wuya and were curious to see his reply. Yu Shan, I, of course, have no objections, but I only want my sister to accept. If she does, you can go and prepare the wedding ceremony. Said Duan Wuya while smiling. He immediately refused the responsibility and shifted it over to Duan Xin. The crowd was stupefied. Duan Wuya was really smart. Yu Tianming had first come to put pressure on him. He couldn't refuse, but if he had accepted, it would have come down to considering Duan Xinyi as an object for trade. What about Lin Feng? So Duan Wuya was giving Duan Xinyi the chance to decide for herself. Actually, Duan Xinyi didn't even need to say anything, everybody knew that she wouldn't accept. As expected, after Duan Wuya spoke, Yu Qingshan continued, "Princess, Your Highness, you are young, getting married is a very important event in your life. Of course, your marriage has to be decided by your elders, and Duan Wuya is your brother so he can substitute your father and decide to honor the agreement by himself. I cannot decide all by myself, it's too important of a matter. If my sister agrees, I will have no objection, as I just said," said Duan Wuya, trying to evade again. He didn't directly agree and was remaining neutral. "Wuya, why are you wasting time?" said Yu Qingshan. He couldn't miss this chance. Besides, by looking at Duan Xinyi sitting with Lin Feng, he knew that if he asked her, she wouldn't accept. Even if he asked her, Duan Wuya would have escaped all responsibility. "He's refusing, could it be that you don't understand?" said Lin Feng at that moment while putting his glass on the table with a heavy clout. He was looking at Yu Qingshan with cold eyes. Yu Qingshan was his grandfather, by blood. Yu Qingshan was also Yu Tianming's grandfather, by blood. But at that moment, he was helping Yu Tianming, his grandson, to steal Lin Feng's, his other grandson's woman. It sounded insane, but it was really happening. Humph. Yu Qingshan frowned and glanced at Lin Feng. He looked upset. He then said, "When did we ask you for your opinion? You're talking about my future wife. I, of course, have the right to express myself. You came here to propose a marriage alliance. I can also ask my mother to come and propose a marriage alliance." "At that moment, what will you do?" said Lin Feng in an ice-cold tone. If Yu Menghe came to propose a marriage alliance, the situation would become chaotic. It would make Yu Qingshan lose face. When Duan Xinyi heard how aggressive Lin Feng was being, she smiled. Besides, he was already admitting that she was his future wife. "You really want trouble. Sending your grandson here to fight for her is useless," said Lin Feng in the tone of a joke while insisting on the word grandson. All right. You really have the same character as Yu Menghe, like mother like son," said Yu Qingshan. He didn't look angry at all. He then looked at Duan Wuya and said, "Wuya, Yu Qingshan, want to hear one sentence. Wuya, would you tell me if you are going to honor our ancestors' agreement or not?" Chapter 520, Poison. "Wuya, tell me if you are going to honor our ancestors' agreement or not," said Yu Qingshan firmly. Duan Wuya smiled wryly and said, "Yu Qingshan, I have a great deal of esteem for you and hold you in admiration. Yu Tianming is the second high official and I admire him too, but my sister's wedding is such an important matter that I cannot speak hastily. That is why I ask you to sit down and let me think, and then let me talk to her. What do you think?" "No need. Since it's that way, I will just stand here and wait for your answer. I just want to say that I hope you will remember our ancestors' words," said Yu Qingshan. He wasn't giving Duan Wuya any margin to think, he was just waiting for a direct and immediate answer, but it was impossible. Yu Qingshan, of course, was convinced that Duan Wuya wouldn't refuse because when he was mentioning their ancestors' agreement, Duan Wuya never shook his head or denied it. Therefore, Yu Qingshan wasn't worried. He had just been putting pressure on Duan Wuya, but knew it would go his way. Now, he just wanted to see what Duan Wuya would say to Duan Xinyi, and was expecting to hear a positive answer. Duan Wuya smiled and looked at Duan Xinyi. "Sister, you understand what Yu Qingshan said. Tianming is his grandson, he is talented and extremely strong, he is the second high official. What do you think about the marriage alliance?" asked Duan Wuya to Duan Xinyi. Everybody was speechless. At that moment, Duan Xinyi was sitting with Lin Feng, asking her was an exaggeration, how could she accept? Duan Xinye's lips were shaking, she wanted to say something but Duan Wuya interrupted her again. Lin Feng, since my sister isn't saying anything, which I can understand, I want to ask you, what do you think about this? The guests were stupefied and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the crucial element at that moment. After all, he was with her, besides, Yu Shan was his grandfather, Lin Feng was related to all parties. At that moment, Duan Xinyi, just like everybody else, was looking at Lin Feng. She wanted to hear what Lin Feng would say to Duan Wuya. Lin Feng remained silent for a few seconds and replied, while glancing at Yu Shan, Xinyi is mine. Lin Feng's voice sounded cold. Of course, Lin Feng had to prove that he was determined, he couldn't afford to be hesitant and irresolute. He had to show that he was ready to do anything to keep her. Since he had accepted her, he had to fight. He couldn't tolerate the fact that someone else was trying to steal his woman. He didn't need to talk too much though, Lin Feng's opinion was clear enough. Duan Xinyi was his woman, so that immediately made an alliance between Yu Tianming and Duan Xinyi impossible. Lin Feng's tone of speech was firm and everyone felt their hearts race. Lin Feng was so aggressive and brave. In front of the second prince, in front of Yu Shan, he dared say that Duan Xinyi was his woman. That sentence was filled with courage. It wasn't that easy to say something like that, especially under such a heavy pressure. When Duan Xinyi heard Lin Feng's simple sentence, she was filled with tenacity, as a happy and resplendent smile appeared. She then moved closer to Lin Feng and grabbed his arm, so that everybody could see. Lin Feng didn't care about them, so Duan Xinyi cared even less about them, besides Lin Feng couldn't be the one to take all the pressure. Many people felt envious and jealous when they saw how close Lin Feng and Duan Xinyi were, especially Yu Tianchen. His face was particularly glum. Yu Tianming was also pulling a long face. Duan Xinyi knew about the marriage agreement but was still so close to Lin Feng. Besides, in front of everyone, she was humiliating Yu Tianming. Yu Shan was staring at Lin Feng, his grandson. He sighed. He wasn't enjoying this situation, he was trying to steal a woman from his grandson to give it to his other grandson, but it was for the Yu clan, so he had no choice. Everybody was silent, including Duan Wuya. Everybody remained silent for a long time until suddenly Duan Wuya broke that silence. Xinyi, are you alright? The crowd was astonished and looked at Duan Xinyi. At that moment, her face was turning red, including her forehead, she looked sick. Huh? What's going on? Many people were astonished. Duan Xinyi looked perfectly well a moment before, there had been no oddity at all, but suddenly she looked extremely red and sick. It was very unusual. Xinyi, what's wrong with you? Asked Lin Feng when he noticed Duan Xinyi's redness. Cultivators had a very strong body, especially as their cultivation level increased. After breaking through to the Ling Qi layer, getting sick was almost impossible, especially for no reason. Even though Duan Xinyi's cultivation level wasn't that high, she had still broken through to the Ling Qi layer a long time ago. Nothing could happen to her naturally. There were only two reasons: someone had poisoned her or she had accidentally poisoned herself. Because of that, Lin Feng was also feeling a bit nervous. It's alright, I just feel hot and dry, I need to rest for a while and I'll be fine, said Duan Xinyi while forcing a smile and trying to control herself to look normal as her face turned redder and redder. It seemed like the blood in her veins was boiling and drying up. Lin Feng touched Duan Xinyi's forehead to check her temperature. He started shaking from head to toe. She had an extremely high fever. Her forehead was burning, she was as hot as burning flames. Something is wrong, Xinyi, what's wrong? Are you sure you're not feeling unwell? said Lin Feng while looking extremely anxious. Cultivators never had health problems, if they did, it was usually extremely serious. Duan Xinyi remained silent for a while and then said to Lin Feng in a low voice, "Lin Feng, I am too hot." Hot. Lin Feng was surprised. Immediately after, Duan Wuya came to check Duan Xinyi as well. He put his hand on her wrist and checked her pulse. He was astonished. Her pulse was insane. "Lin Feng, what did you do to Xin Yi?" shouted Duan Wuya furiously, which astonished Lin Feng. What had he done to Duan Xinyi? How could he ever do anything to her? The crowd was astonished too. They had never expected Duan Wuya to suddenly grow furious at Lin Feng. There had never been a problem between them, they had always been on friendly terms. Even when Lin Feng was weak, Duan Wuya protected him and even conferred him the title of Marquis, and he was even the one who had given him the fief of Yangzhou. "You should rather say, what's wrong with her, why is she sick?" said Lin Feng in a cold dismissal. He was upset. Xinyi, she. Duan Wuya couldn't even talk anymore, he was stuttering. He then added in an ice-cold tone, "She's been with you all day, and after Yu Qing Shan arrived, she suddenly became ill, you gave her something, you must tell me the truth." Gave her something? The crowd was astonished. At that moment, Duan Xinyi was firmly holding Lin Feng's arm. Her face was extremely red and her vision was blurry. People were shaking from head to toe and some were actually aroused by Duan Xinyi's face. They had obscene ideas. Gave her something? Duan Wuya dared say that. The crowd was shaking and suddenly thought of the only possibility. Someone had secretly given Duan Xinyi a pill. Besides, it was an extremely poisonous one. That was such an evil plot though, that person had probably calculated everything clearly, so the effects of the pill would start after Yu Qing Shan's arrival. No wonder Duan Wuya was furious at Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, my body is so hot," said Duan Xinyi while climbing onto Lin Feng. Her voice was seductive. When Lin Feng heard Duan Wuya, he obviously understood what was going on. Lin Feng's face, in a flash, turned ice-cold. Surprisingly, someone had done such an evil and obscene thing to Duan Xinyi. Chapter 521, Get Lost. Lin Feng was furious, his face was ice-cold and he was staring at the crowd. Duan Xinyi had been with him all the time, including the banquet, no wonder Duan Wuya thought that it was Lin Feng. If somebody had given a pill to Duan Xinyi, then it was during the banquet, and that person had done it very discreetly, without being noticed. Lin Feng who was next to Duan Xinyi and hadn't even noticed it. "Lin Feng, you're really shameless," shouted Yu Tianming furiously while standing up and staring at Lin Feng. "You surprisingly use such methods to obtain the princess. How shameless. I've never seen such a shameless person in my entire life." Everybody was astonished and staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was most likely the suspect. The first reason was that Duan Xinyi had been with Lin Feng the entire day and Duan Xinyi would never poison herself. The second reason was that Yu Qing Shan had come to propose a marriage alliance between Yu Tianming and Duan Xinyi, so that would ruin Lin Feng and Duan Xinyi's romance. So, Lin Feng, infuriated, had probably secretly given her an aphrodisiac to keep her. Everything was pointing to Lin Feng. Everybody was looking at Lin Feng, which made his facial expression grow even colder. Yu Qing Shan had come to propose a marriage alliance between Duan Xinyi and Yu Tianming. And this was happening, Lin Feng hadn't been vigilant enough. He glanced at the crowd in an ice-cold way but couldn't figure out a suspect. It seemed like nobody had a reason to do such a horrible thing. However, there was no doubt that Duan Xinyi had taken an aphrodisiac poison. "Your Highness, the most pressing matter of the moment is to save Xinyi, we need to find a solution," said Lin Feng. He wasn't giving him face either. Saving Duan Xinyi was the most important thing, but Duan Wuya was blaming him. You think that I don't know that Xinyi's blood vessels are burning? You better save her, Lin Feng. If you're the one who poisoned her, it's the end for you, said Duan Wuya. He didn't sound as warm and friendly as before. He looked extremely malicious and was staring at Lin Feng with an evil glare. Lin Feng was stupefied. He also touched Duan Xinyi, sending his soul into her body. As expected, there was a terrifying qi burning Duan Xinyi's body and internal organs. A fire was burning in her body. At that moment, Duan Xinyi was in a state of delirium, and her vision was blurry. She was just firmly holding Lin Feng and blowing a warm air into Lin Feng's ear. Lin Feng, save me. Lin Feng shivered and his body started shaking. Save her. There was only one solution for the poison: to have intercourse. Lin Feng looked puzzled and ferocious at the same time. He didn't feel like taking her under such circumstances. Besides, everybody thought that he was the one who had given her the poison. But if he didn't save Duan Xinyi, there would be two possibilities. She would die, burnt by the internal fire. Or somebody else would save her. In both cases, he would lose Duan Xinyi. He couldn't let Duan Xinyi die, and he didn't want anyone else to save Duan Xinyi. I'm leaving with Xinyi, said Lin Feng while gnashing his teeth. He then carried her and stood up. He looked resolute. There was no other solution. He had to save her. He was convinced that Duan Xinyi would forgive him. When the crowd heard Lin Feng, they were gobsmacked. Lin Feng wanted to leave. Who knew what Lin Feng would do if he left? Many people looked extremely upset. Did Lin Feng think that he was going to take Duan Xinyi if she was left like that? Put her down, said Yu Tianming in an ice-cold tone. His silhouette flickered and he immediately landed in front of Lin Feng. His facial expression was ice-cold and he was releasing an ice-cold energy. He was obstructing Lin Feng's path. Lin Feng raised his hand and looked at Yu Tianming evilly. Lin Feng, I can't stand it anymore, said Duan Xinyi in a soft voice which made Lin Feng feel even more nervous. Boom! Lin Feng took a step forwards and released a monstrous deadly energy. It was ice-cold as well. Get lost! Boom! Lin Feng took another step and wanted to leave the pavilion. Duan Xinyi couldn't wait anymore. He couldn't let anything happen to her. A terrifying deadly sword energy moved towards Yu Tianming and made his robes flutter violently. However, Yu Tianming didn't move. Like a mountain, he remained motionless. How could he let Lin Feng leave? Even though he didn't care about fame and glory, Lin Feng was leaving with the woman whom he had a marriage contract with. Besides, Lin Feng was leaving to have sex with Duan Xinyi. How could he accept such a humiliation? Maybe Duan Xinyi would become his wife in the future. If such a thing happened, Duan Xinyi and Yu Tianming would be humiliated. Lin Feng's poison was really sly, vicious and malicious. Put the princess down, said Yu Tianming in a firm tone. He then releasing a piercingly cold qi. Boom! Another rumbling sound filled the air. Lin Feng jumped up in the air and the ceiling of the pavilion immediately broke and huge blocks of stone flew in every direction. Everybody under the pavilion started moving too. Where are you going? Said Yu Shan in an ice-cold tone. He then transformed into a light beam and arrived in front of Lin Feng, obstructing the way. His white hair was fluttering in the wind. Immediately after, Yu Tianming also arrived and blocked the way while shouting, "Put the princess down." He couldn't let Lin Feng leave with the princess. Lin Feng looked at them. They were stronger than him, especially Yu Shan. Even if he used all his strength, he wouldn't be able to escape. You really want to prevent me from leaving? Said Lin Feng while looking at Yu Shan coldly. Yu Shan's facial muscles twitched, and he then nodded frenetically. put the princess down. And after that? Said Lin Feng in an angry tone. Let Tian Ming go with her. Tian Ming and the princess have a marriage agreement. After that, everything will be fine. She will become Yu Tian Ming's wife and the marriage contract will be honored. Grandpa! Suddenly shouted Lin Feng, which made Yu Qingshan shake. He looked puzzled and stunned, but immediately after he looked firm and determined again. Ha 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 ha. Lin Feng suddenly started laughing like a madman. His grandfather wanted to steal his woman and give it to his cousin. How ridiculous. The people on the ground raised their heads and looked at the four silhouettes. What was going on? Yu Qingshan and Yu Tianming were blocking the way. Lin Feng would be forced to put Duan Xianyi down. He couldn't leave with her. Duan Xianyi would become Yu Tianming's wife, and it was thanks to Lin Feng's poison. Duan Xianyi and Yu Tianming would then live happily ever after. Lin Feng lowered his head and looked at Duan Xianyi's red face. The fire was still burning inside her body. But Lin Feng was holding her in his arms and had the feeling that he needed to protect her. Duan Xianyi couldn't wait. Get lost! Shouted Lin Feng in an evil way which stupefied Yu Qingshan. Lin Feng was telling him to get lost. No matter what, he was Lin Feng's grandfather. Lin Feng's mother was his daughter, and even she had never dared to say such a thing. But immediately after, Yu Qingshan and Yu Tianming saw Lin Feng's eyes, which looked demonic and evil. His two dark eyes were filled with an evil energy. He was absolutely emotionless and expressionless. When Yu Qingshan and Yu Tianming saw those eyes, they couldn't help but shake. His eyes were too terrifying, too cold. Their spirits were shaking. Chapter 522, Intercourse. Lin Feng's eyes were emotionless, as if he was looking down on everyone. Yu Qingshan and Yu Tianming were staring at those eyes and their hearts started racing, but they couldn't help but to stare deeper into the void. They were still obstructing Lin Feng's path. Lin Feng couldn't leave with Duan Xianyi, he couldn't. Their lips were twitching when they heard Lin Feng say something. Get lost! Get lost! Get lost! Lin Feng had just shouted and his voice was echoed in the atmosphere. It seemed like an evil energy was brushing across their bodies. Yu Qingshan was still fixedly staring at Lin Feng, but at that moment, he could sense an evil qi emerging out from Lin Feng's body, a terrifying evil qi. In Lin Feng's eyes, there was a terrifying evil energy. At that moment, it seemed like a sword, an evil sword, was unsheathing itself inside Lin Feng's eyes. If anyone blocked his path any longer, he would slaughter them. The crowd was looking at Lin Feng and noticed how infuriated he seemed. How scary. At that moment, Lin Feng looked like he was determined to leave. Nobody could stop him. He looked like a demon. He would massacre anyone who tried to stop him. When Yu Tianming saw that terrifying evil energy, he couldn't help but feel terrified. Indeed, no one was surprised. Lin Feng was terrifying. That evil qi was filled with a demonic intent. Nobody could prevent Lin Feng from leaving. That terrifying evil energy was penetrating deeper into Lin Feng's heart. At that moment, Yu Tianming felt ridiculous. He knew that if he kept obstructing Lin Feng's way, Lin Feng would kill him. Yu Tianming wasn't the only one who had that feeling. Yu Qingshan felt the same. If they kept preventing him from leaving, Lin Feng would slaughter them mercilessly. That sensation was astonishing and terrifying. It's him, it's definitely him, whispered Yu Qingshan. He could see his own evil shape in Lin Feng's eyes. How terrifying, that person now resided in Lin Feng. Yu Qingshan was shaking from head to toe and his thoughts grew chaotic. He was in Lin Feng's body. This is terrible, a catastrophe, thought Yu Qingshan while looking at the sky. He had failed with Yu Menghe, and at this moment he would fail with Lin Feng as well. Lin Feng would leave with Duan Xianyi. The same thing was happening again. Nobody could stop Lin Feng anymore. Lin Feng had become an insane demon, one more push and he would allow the demon to invade his heart, then he would bathe the world in blood. Tianming, let him leave, said Yuqing Shan while sighing and dragging Yu Tianming's arm. He didn't want to prevent Lin Feng from leaving any longer. This time it would be different. The evil swords, that's the qi from the evil swords, said Yuqing Shan. He could see the evil swords in Lin Feng's eyes. He knew that Lin Feng was there when the evil swords were released at Mount Sword. He had actually been the first one to discover it, it made perfect sense. Initially, the 9 sword mountains exploded and the seal was broken because the evil swords were attracted by Lin Feng. They hadn't left for other vessels, they had all surprisingly chose Lin Feng's body, they could emerge from his body at any time. If Yu Tianming and Yuqing Shan kept obstructing his path, Lin Feng would be merciless and heartless. Lin Feng would let the evil swords take control of his body and slaughter everybody. Because he wanted to save Duan Xinyi, the pure and precious princess, there was no telling how far Lin Feng he would go when he was really infuriated. Yu Tianming's heart was pounding violently, Yuqing Shan was pulling his arm. Let him go. He was surprisingly opening the way. Lin Feng was going to leave with the princess. The princess with whom Yu Tianming had a marriage agreement. And Lin Feng would have intercourse with her. When Yu Tianming thought about it, his eyes suddenly grew particularly cold. In fact, from Lin Feng, he could also sense the terrifying evil energy emerging from him. But seeing Lin Feng leave with the princess was like 1,000 blades stabbing his chest, it was extremely painful. Yu Tianming felt like his heart was shattered into 1,000 pieces. The crowd was also looking at them and they were stupefied. Lin Feng was demonic at that moment, they weren't near to him but they could still sense his terrifying evil qi. They knew that if Yu Tianming and Yuqing Shan remained in Lin Feng's way, the evil energy would take over and he would attack to kill his cousin and his grandfather. Lin Feng glanced at Yuqing Shan and Yu Tianming and said in an ice-cold tone, "If you disturb me while I save Xinyi, I will kill you, I don't give a damn who you are." After that, Lin Feng left at full speed. In a flash, he disappeared from their field of vision. Phew! Everybody took a deep breath, the pressure had finally disappeared. When Lin Feng was there, they all felt like they were suffocating. Duan Wuxia, Yuqing Shan, Yu Tianming and the others were all looking at Lin Feng as he disappeared into the horizon, their eyes were all revealing different feelings and emotions. After Lin Feng left with Duan Xinyi, he moved at an inconceivable speed. At that moment, her body was scorching hot, just like a bare flame, the ambient temperature was terrifying. Besides, at that moment, Duan Xinyi seemed like she had gone insane. She was firmly holding on to Lin Feng with her legs wrapped around Lin Feng's waist as she was panting lightly. She looked intoxicated. She looked like she was possessed but she was extremely seductive. "We have arrived." Lin Feng saw Duan Xinye's residence in the forest. He dashed through the air and moved down to the ground. The women who usually guarded the entrance didn't obstruct him, so Lin Feng immediately entered her residence. At that moment, many silhouettes appeared, it was the women who guarded the entrance of Duan Xinye's palace. They noticed that something had happened. "Don't let anyone come within even of a half step of this location. It's a matter of life and death," said Lin Feng, whose voice filled the air. The women were stupefied, they glanced at each other and nodded. Their silhouettes flickered and disappeared. That voice was Lin Feng's voice and those women knew how important Lin Feng was to the princess. Since Lin Feng was talking with such urgency, it meant that the princess might be in danger, they obviously obeyed his commands. Lin Feng closed the door of the palace and rushed into Duan Xinye's bedroom. Lin Feng put Duan Xinye on the bed, her eyes looked bewitching. Her body was entirely red and she kept grabbing at her clothes and removing them slowly. Her eyes were filled with endless heat. The fire in her body was getting more intense. Her red face seemed like it was going to explode. Lin Feng, I can't stand it anymore, I need you. Said Duan Xinyi while sliding her dress down her body. Lin Feng looked at her slim and beautiful arms, her skin was so delicate. She was extremely beautiful and she was seducing Lin Feng. While talking, her bewitching fragrance filled the air, Lin Feng felt like temptation was everywhere. Lin Feng wasn't a monk, he was an ordinary man and he was still a virgin. A beautiful woman such as the princess was half naked in front of him, she was touching his neck with her hands and whispering that she needed him. How could Lin Feng remain indifferent? He wasn't a stone without emotions and desires. Lin Feng's breathing was rapid, he could see one of her hands on his neck and another one on her body, she was still removing her clothes, her beautiful breasts were slowly revealed and Lin Feng felt himself bewitched. Lin Feng, hurry. Duan Xinye's voice made Lin Feng feel like he was in a fantasy, he leant towards Duan Xinye, his head felt like it was going to explode, he was flushed red, he felt like he was going to lose consciousness. Lin Feng lowered his head and put his hand on Duan Xinye's soft skin, he then started kissing her slowly, her lips, her shoulders, each and every part of her body. Finally, after the flames of passion were ignited, Lin Feng groaned violently as Duan Xinye moaned gently. Their bodies had become one. They were both intoxicated with passion. Their bodies were in perfect fusion and as the bed started to move. Duan Xinye's room had become a den of lust. Chapter 523, Situation After the surge of passion, Lin Feng and Duan Xinye were laying on the bed and remaining silent. The fire in Duan Xinye's body wasn't harmful anymore, instead, flames of passion were burning in her heart. Drops of sweat covered her body, one glance at her would have sufficed to arouse any man. Lin Feng was caressing Duan Xinye's skin with his fingers. The flames of desire were still burning in his heart. They had tasted the forbidden fruit. Duan Xinye, because of the extremely strong effects of the poison had required a long session of passionate lovemaking. Because Lin Feng had broken through to the Xian Qi layer and had an extremely strong body, he was able to nullify the poison. Duan Xinye had experienced a pleasure which had gone beyond expectations. At that moment, Duan Xinye moved her head and placed it on Lin Feng's chest, she was acting extremely shy, she couldn't even look at Lin Feng anymore. Lin Feng hugged Duan Xinye, his eyes were filled with endless warmth and affection. Xinye, are you angry at me? Asked Lin Feng suddenly. After all of this had happened, not because Duan Xinye and Lin Feng wanted it, they had been forced into the situation. It was unexpected. Duan Xinye was rubbing her head against Lin Feng's chest and shaking her head. How could she be angry at Lin Feng? It had been unexpected indeed, but she had been Lin Feng's woman for a while, besides, Lin Feng did it to save her. If Lin Feng hadn't been there, she would have been forced to marry Yu Tianming and would have slept with him, she didn't even want to think about that. They all think that I'm the one who gave you the poison, do you think so too? Asked Lin Feng in a low voice. Duan Xinye raised her head and looked at Lin Feng, her face was still red but she still looked gorgeous. I'm not saying that it's impossible that you did, but even if you did, I was willing. Said Duan Xinye in a soft voice. Her eyes were filled with a deep and meaningful look. Lin Feng sighed and held her tightly in his arms. With such a woman, he would only be happy. If Meng Qin didn't exist, maybe Lin Feng would have only loved Duan Xinye. She was so delicate, subtle and had a high social status, she also wasn't conceited. She was so pure and innocent. Lin Feng, will you marry me? Asked Duan Xinye, her voice was charming. Lin Feng was stupefied, he now had to bear a huge responsibility. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked you. Said Duan Xinye when she saw that Lin Feng remained silent. Her voice was trembling and it looked like tears were about to appear in her eyes. Lin Feng's heart was extremely painful when he heard her. He had already been with Duan Xinyi and her love for him was still unconditional to the extent that she was even apologizing for asking. Duan Xinyi was a princess. And on top of that, everybody would know what had happened soon. If he didn't marry Duan Xinyi, what would people think of her? I will, said Lin Feng while tightly hugging her. He looked nervous. How could Lin Feng let her down? Duan Xinyi had sacrificed everything for him. Lin Feng got up and sat while making Duan Xinyi sit up. Then Lin Feng stood up and carried her to the hot spring. This made her blush. She was going to have a bath with Lin Feng, she was even more embarrassed. Early in the morning, the sun was shining upon the valley and the streams. In the forest, many silhouettes appeared. Some looked glum and others looked furious. There were Duan Wuya, Yu Tianming, and some guards wearing black cloaks. They were all staring at the valley. They all knew what had happened in Duan Xinyi's palace during the night. They all knew the details, but they wished they didn't know. Knowing about it gave them the feeling that insects were nibbling their face from the inside. They couldn't bear that thought, especially Yu Tianming. He had a marriage agreement with her, he didn't want his future wife to have a fling with another man. How could he be happy about it? He looked extremely glum. In a distant place in the forest, there were also many silhouettes, they all looked furious. They were all the young men who had fallen in love with the princess, they were infuriated. They all knew that Lin Feng had sullied the princess, they were enraged, but also jealous and envious. Lin Feng was really abominable, he had done everything in his power to obtain the princess. Get lost! Shouted Duan Wuya in an ice-cold way. Those young men saw Duan Wuya turn and glare at them, they kept quiet out of fear. They could sense Duan Wuya's deadly energy. Many people started running and immediately left the scene. They didn't dare stay. At that moment, Duan Wuya was furious. Everybody knew that the princess wasn't a virgin anymore, that was a humiliation for the imperial family and for Duan Xinyi. How could Duan Wuya tolerate such a thing? After all of those people left, the forest was calm again. There was only the sound of the rustling leaves and of the pitter-patter of water in the streams. It felt calm and serene, but Duan Wuya and Yu Tianming didn't feel like enjoying the landscape, they were only staring at Duan Xinyi's residence. They didn't go and enter by force, they also didn't shout angrily. After all, Lin Feng wasn't alone inside, Duan Xinyi was also in there. After a short while, they heard some steps which made them feel even more tense. They looked at the residence and saw two silhouettes slowly emerge. Lin Feng and Duan Xinyi. At that moment, they had already changed into new clothes. Lin Feng was wearing a new set of clothes and Duan Xinyi seemed to have returned to normal, she had completely recovered. She was wearing a beautiful chongpao and her face looked different, one could see she had become a real woman. She looked even more attractive. Lin Feng looked full of vitality. He looked particularly handsome at that moment. That made Yu Tianming's face look even more glum, he was gnashing his teeth. When he saw that the two were holding hands, he felt like his anger was about to burst out. "Brother!" shouted Duan Xinyi at Duan Wuya in a soft and timid voice. "Xinyi, go back inside. I need to talk to him," said Duan Wuya while coldly staring at Lin Feng. "Don't, brother, don't blame him. It's not his fault, Lin Feng is innocent." "It's my fault," said Duan Xinyi while defending Lin Feng. If Duan Wuya accused Lin Feng of giving her the poison and taking advantage of the princess, it would be a huge problem. "Go back inside," repeated Duan Wuya, which made Duan Xinyi look tense. Lin Feng firmly squeezed on Duan Xinyi's hand, smiled and said, "Xinyi, go back it. There won't be any problems." Duan Xinyi looked at Lin Feng and nodded, then she looked at Duan Wuya and said, "Brother, don't make things difficult for Lin Feng." Then she went back into her residence. Duan Wuya was staring at Lin Feng. He didn't say anything but released an extremely oppressive qi. Apart from Duan Wuya, those strong cultivators in black clothes and Yu Tianming were also releasing their deadly energies which enveloped Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng had the feeling that there was a mountain on his shoulders. They were all extremely strong, there wasn't a single weak link amongst them. Lin Feng, you're very smart, you stole my sister, you're the only one she will care about for now. Said Duan Wuya in an ice-cold tone. Your Majesty, could it be that you still think that I'm the one who gave her that poison? Said Lin Feng ignoring Duan Wuya's cold tone. You know better than anyone else if you did it or not. Besides, you're the one who benefited from all the advantageous aspects of that situation, you got what you wanted. Even if we don't talk about that poison, now you stole my sister's innocence. Besides, everybody knows about it, it is a humiliation for the imperial family and for my sister. Duan Wuya was shouting furiously. The fact that everybody knew that Duan Xinyi wasn't a virgin anymore was a catastrophic humiliation for Duan Xinyi and the imperial family. For them, face was an extremely important thing. It could be said that causing them to lose face was enough of a reason to kill Lin Feng. It didn't matter if Lin Feng was the one who gave the poison, he had humiliated and polluted Duan Xinyi, or more precisely, this was the rumor which would be spread. Chapter 524, Heartless Conditions. Lin Feng was coldly staring at Duan Wuya. It was all about face, the imperial city clan only cared about their own prestige, they didn't care about Xinyi. I would like to ask you, if I hadn't saved Xinyi, what would have happened? Asked Lin Feng in an ice-cold tone which surprised Duan Wuya. She would have died, or even if somebody else had saved her, the humiliation would have been the same, they would either lose face or lose the princess. Shouldn't you go and find out who really gave the poison to her instead of groundlessly accusing me? Besides, attaching importance to a concept such as face is useless, you can't change what happened. Do you think that if you kill me, you will regain the prestige you lost? Have you thought about Xinyi? Shouted Lin Feng furiously. Duan Wuya couldn't refute Lin Feng's words. What you mean is that we should let you off that easily? Said Yu Tianming. Shut the hell up. Shouted Lin Feng. He then added, you have nothing to say here. Nobody gives a shit about your crappy marriage agreement. I've already told you, Xinyi is mine. Even if the incident of yesterday evening had never happened, she would have still remained mine and only mine. Yu Tianming pulled a long face, he hated Lin Feng, he hated him so much. And Lin Feng wasn't even giving him face. Besides, for Yu Tianming, it was more embarrassing that his own grandfather, Yu Qingshan, had told him to stop blocking Lin Feng. He didn't want him to directly oppose Lin Feng. His grandfather, by doing that, had implied that Yu Tianming wasn't a match for Lin Feng. When Duan Wuya heard Lin Feng's aggressive tone of speech, he remained silent for a long time and then said, how do you want to solve the problem then? What do you think? Do you have any ideas? Asked Lin Feng. Duan Wuya probably already had an idea. I want you to marry Xinyi immediately and tell everyone. That is the only solution which will regain our prestige. Said Duan Wuya looking firm. Yu Tianming was astonished, he wanted Lin Feng to immediately marry Duan Xinyi. What about the marriage contract? Lin Feng looked stupefied for less than a second but immediately returned to normal. That solution was probably the best, killing Lin Feng gave no advantages, it would only cause more damage. Let me think. Replied Lin Feng. He was, of course, going to marry Duan Xinyi, but time was a problem. Think. You need to think. My sister's reputation has been tarnished. Everybody knows about what happened. And you're still thinking of a way to flee from your responsibility? Lin Feng, give me your answer immediately. Said Duan Wuya looked firm and tenacious. I will marry Xinyi. Said Lin Feng completely certain. He, of course, had to bear that responsibility for his actions. Duan Xinyi was a princess and he had taken away her virginity. Besides, everybody already knew about it. Duan Xinyi would be considered an easy woman if he didn't marry her. He had to marry her for her reputation. You must marry her, but also quickly, said Duan Wuya while staring at Lin Feng. Besides, you have to show to everyone that you are determined. Everybody must know that you are going to marry her. Duan Wuya continued, everybody knows that my sister is not a virgin anymore. If you don't marry her right away, she will never regain her reputation. Everything is now in your hands, the only solution is for you to show to everybody that you are determined to be with her and quickly, that is the only way for my sister to regain her reputation. Lin Feng felt tense and nervous, but Duan Wuya was absolutely right. If he didn't marry Duan Xinyi quickly enough, she wouldn't regain her reputation. Lin Feng had to prove to everybody that he wanted to be with Duan Xinyi, but also that he was the perfect man for her. He had to impress everyone and show them that he had what it took to marry a princess. However, how could he do that? How could he prove that he had what was required to marry her? Brother, you are so mean to Lin Feng. I don't care if he doesn't want to marry me, it doesn't matter, said Duan Xinyi while running out of her residence. If Lin Feng was willing to marry her, that was already enough. She would be happy to share everything with him. Initially, she didn't even want to be his first wife, she just wanted to stay by his side. She didn't care about prestige or reputation. Xinyi, you have nothing to say here. We're not talking to you, said Duan Wuya aggressively. Considering Duan Wuya's behavior and statements, it seemed like he had planned everything from the beginning. Lin Feng then asked, Your Highness, tell me, how I can prove it to everyone then. I want you to participate in the great competition of Shuiyu and become the glory of Shuiyu. You must show everyone the power of our country. Then you must return and marry my sister, said Duan Wuya slowly. Then he added, You, Lin Feng, must participate in the great competition of Shuiyu and place amongst the top 10 participants, but not at the bottom of the list, only 9th place or above. Otherwise, it would be better for you to die in the competition, there would be no need to return. My sister can't marry someone who is not worthy. Brother, you're asking too much. That's too exaggerated, shouted Duan Xinyi. It would be extremely difficult to finish in the top 9. Lin Feng was from Shuiyu and it was just a small and normal country amongst the 13 countries of Shuiyu. There were 4 empires and 9 countries, and they all had extremely strong cultivators participating. Those chosen to participate in the great competition of Shuiyu were all the strongest cultivators from those countries. If all those countries had chosen only their strongest cultivator, there would have been 13 powerhouses. In that case, Lin Feng would have to beat several powerhouses to reach the top 9. In other words, Lin Feng had to defeat several cultivators, who might be stronger than the crown prince of Shuiyu. Finishing in the top 9 would be extremely difficult. Besides, Duan Wuya was saying that if Lin Feng failed, he should die abroad, during the great competition of Shuiyu. I'm not done talking, said Duan Wuya indifferently, which made Duan Xinyi feel even more tense. He wasn't done. Wasn't all of this enough already? The one who wants to marry my sister must be the strongest cultivator in Shuiyu. After finishing amongst the 9 best cultivators of Shuiyu, I want you to return and become the first high official of Shuiyu. That is the only way for you to prove to everyone that you are worthy, and for people to respect and admire you. Then, you will be able to marry my sister, then we will regain our prestige and nobody will be able to say a word in retort. Duan Wuya's words made everybody shiver, his requirements were extremely high. Duan Wuya's requirements were extremely difficult and cruel. The great competition of Shuiyu was a true competition between geniuses. Lin Feng was only 18 years old, finishing in the top 9 would be difficult. Besides, that wasn't enough, Duan Wuya wanted him to become the first high official of Shuiyu, which meant that Duan Wuya was asking him to defeat Duan Wu Dao, the crown prince. Nobody in Xueyu was allowed to be stronger than Lin Feng, that was the requirement. Nobody could imagine such things from a young man like Lin Feng, but Duan Wuya was saying that Lin Feng had to achieve them. Yu Tianming was also scared by Duan Wuya's requests. He also thought that finishing amongst the top 9 cultivators of the great competition of Xueyu was extremely difficult. Duan Wu Dao, the crown prince, killed anyone who offends him, but he is good to those who don't. He had been the first high official of Xueyu for a long time. Nobody had ever surpassed him. Yu Tianming was also aware that he would be unable to match Duan Wu Dao. Duan Wuya wanted him to defeat Duan Wu Dao and become the first high official. That was almost impossible. "Brother, how can you be that cruel to Lin Feng?" said Duan Xianyi. She was extremely worried. Duan Wuya's requests were almost impossible. "If he can't do those things, why should he be allowed to marry you?" said Duan Wuya while shaking his head and staring at Lin Feng. At that moment, Lin Feng looked puzzled. What did Duan Wuya mean with those requirements? What was his goal? If he finished amongst the top cultivators in the great competition of Xueyu, he would definitely return to Xueyu as a glorious hero. Defeating Duan Wu Dao, however, was extremely complicated, but if he managed to do that, nobody would dare disrespect him. "Is there a time limit for the second request?" asked Lin Feng. "You have 1 year to marry my sister," said Duan Wuya. Lin Feng had only 1 year to do it. The great competition of Xueyu would start soon, so it would, of course, not require 1 year to complete. However, Lin Feng also had to become the first high official in the same year. One could also understand, from Duan Wuya's tone of speech and behavior, that becoming the first high official of Xueyu was even more difficult than finishing in the top 9 of the great competition. What Duan Wuya seemed to think was that Duan Wu Dao, his brother, was even stronger than the people who finished in the top 9 of the great competition of Xueyu. At least, Duan Wuya thought so. He had faith in his brother. Even if Lin Feng finished in the top 9, he would still be very far from being able to compete with Duan Wu Dao. "I have no choice, right?" said Lin Feng. "Indeed, no choice," said Duan Wuya while shaking his head. Lin Feng remained silent for a moment and then grabbed Duan Xianyi's hand. He then said, "I'm going somewhere with Duan Xianyi for a few days." "Where?" "The lovesick forest," replied Lin Feng calmly. Duan Wuya nodded and said, "No problem, bring her back in a few days' time. I don't want the same things, which happened in the past, to happen again." Lin Feng remained silent. He obviously understood that Duan Wuya was talking about the fact that Yu Menghe and Lin Hai left Xueyu, but the result was Lin Hai's cultivation was sealed and he was unable to enter the imperial city. Because of what had happened 18 years before, Lin Hai had to hide in the lovesick forest. Chapter 525, The story. Duan Wuya didn't try to prevent Lin Feng from leaving. Everything Duan Wuya was doing was for Duan Xianyi. He was asking Lin Feng to come back as a glorious hero, to astonish the entire country and marry her. But Lin Feng didn't feel good about it. Actually, he felt horrible. He had the feeling that he was being manipulated. Even if Duan Wuya hadn't told him to finish amongst the best cultivators in the great competition of Xueyu, Lin Feng would have done his best regardless. He would continue to improve his cultivation without added ultimatums. Becoming stronger and stronger was always part of his plan. Lin Feng already intended to confront Duan Wu Dao sooner or later. Lin Feng had already decided these things by himself. But Duan Wuya was asking him to do it with little margin for error. If he failed, then Lin Feng should just die. Besides, he only had 1 year to defeat Duan Wu Dao and become the first high official. Both things were extremely difficult. It was heartless, but Lin Feng had no choice. Maybe it was a means to challenge himself, to make him even more motivated to quickly surpass his current level and become stronger. Lin Feng was holding Duan Xianyi's hand and walking forward. They passed by Duan Wuya and Yu Tianming. Yu Tianming looked glum. Duan Wuya hadn't killed Lin Feng, he had only set 2 challenges, but in the end, he let Duan Xinyi leave with Lin Feng. Gotcha! A subtle sound filled the air. Yu Tianming had clenched his fists so hard and released his energy into the air. He would do his best to prevent Lin Feng from finishing in the top cultivators of the great competition of Shuiyu. Even if Yu Qingshan didn't allow him to fight against Lin Feng, he would still do it. In the forbidden area of the lovesick forest, in front of a tree with some cabin lodges, there were 2 tables and chairs. 2 people were sitting looking carefree and at home. Those 2 people were women, they were both extremely beautiful and looked like angels. They were just sitting there, but anyone who saw them would feel a peaceful atmosphere fall over them. How should the eyebrows be? Thick or thin? A pure and holy-looking woman raised her head. She didn't need anything to become more beautiful, she only had to stand there and it would make the world seem colorless in comparison. The other woman raised her head as well. Even though she wasn't young anymore, she didn't have many wrinkles on her face. She just had a deep and profound look in her eyes. She looked natural, warm and friendly. She was smiling and looked gorgeous. "Let the brush move with your heart," said the beautiful Yu Menghe while looking at her future daughter-in-law. She was very satisfied. Meng Qing was extremely beautiful, she wasn't any less beautiful than Yu Menghe when she was at that age. If Meng Qing were to be proclaimed as the most beautiful woman of Shuiyu, Yu Menghe would definitely agree. Lin Feng had a good eye for women. Even though she hadn't been with Meng Qing for a long time, Yu Menghe couldn't find anything bad about Meng Qing. She was extremely happy to have her as a future daughter-in-law. "Move with my heart," whispered Meng Qing. With the firm expression on her face, one could see that she didn't entirely understand what Yu Menghe was telling her, but she closed her eyes and continued. She was sketching the contours of a portrait. When she opened her eyes and saw her portrait, she had a resplendent smile on her face. Even though she wasn't good at painting, she wanted Yu Menghe to teach her. She wanted to nourish her soul and heart. She also found it to be extremely relaxing. In the distance, Lin Hai was still carving. He would occasionally raise his head and smile at them. If Lin Feng had been there, then the 4 of them could have shared this lovely moment. That would have been wonderful. "Father, Mother, Meng Qing." At that moment, a voice sounded which pleasantly surprised the 3 of them. It was Lin Feng's voice. But when they raised their head, they were surprised. There were 2 silhouettes. Apart from Lin Feng, there was also a young woman. She was beautiful. Meng Qing was stupefied. She could, of course, recognize Duan Xinyi. She had already seen her. In Duanren City in Umo, Lin Feng had saved Duan Xinyi. Then, he left the forbidden area of the Z government with Duan Xinyi. Meng Qing knew exactly who she was. She also knew that Duan Xinyi was in love with Lin Feng. Meng Qing was a woman who had a sharp intuition. By glancing once at Duan Xinyi's eyes, she could easily see that she liked Lin Feng. Besides, at that moment, Duan Xinyi was lowering her head. She looked extremely shy. When Meng Qing saw that, she immediately felt something. Yu Menghe could also feel something. She couldn't help but glance at Lin Hai with a deep and meaningful look. Lin Hai was stupefied. He couldn't help but lower his head and smile secretly. His son was even more skilled with women than himself. A short moment after, Lin Feng arrived in front of Yu Menghe and Meng Qing. Meng Qing could sense something, so she immediately put the painting away. When Yu Menghe saw that, she remained silent inside. Meng Qing's love for Lin Feng was extremely deep. She could feel that something was wrong, but she still took the time to hide her painting. She was extremely scared of Lin Feng having a negative opinion, because the portrait Meng Qing had been painting was of Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced at Yu Menghe and then at Meng Qing. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but words wouldn't come out. He couldn't say anything. At the same time, Lin Feng looked strange. He looked remorseful and felt like a weight had fallen on his heart. Yu Menghe and Meng Qing obviously understood what had happened. Yu Menghe shook her head, she didn't know what to say either. But at that moment, Meng Qing stood up, which surprised Lin Feng. He just looked over to her and waited to see what she was going to do. Meng Qing stood up and walked towards Duan Xinyi, who then lowered her head even more. She looked like a little girl who had done something wrong. Her heart started pounding to the extent that she could hear her own heartbeat. "I'm sorry," said Duan Xinyi in a low voice. Even though she was a princess, she knew perfectly well that Meng Qing and Lin Feng's love was extremely deep. She was well aware of it, but she had also fallen in love with Lin Feng, and she had involved herself in their relationship. She was a princess, but in front of Meng Qing, she never acted arrogantly. Meng Qing's qi seemed to be that of an ice goddess. Men felt oppressed in front of her, but so did women. A sudden sound broke the silence, which surprised Duan Xinyi. She raised her head and saw Meng Qing smile at her. Meng Qing was surprisingly smiling at her. Xinyi couldn't believe it, but she could actually see a smile on Meng Qing's beautiful face. She wasn't angry. Duan Xinyi wasn't the only one astonished, but Lin Feng was too. Yu Meng was shocked as well and fixedly stared at Meng Qing's smile. "Xinyi, you're a princess, you probably know how to paint, you can teach me," said Meng Qing while taking Duan Xinyi's hand. Lin Feng was holding her hand on one side, and Meng Qing was holding her hand on the other side. She was gobsmacked and just stared at Meng Qing with rounded eyes. "Come quickly, sit down," said Meng Qing while pulling Duan Xinyi to a chair. Immediately after, she took a brush and a paper roll. She was preparing everything for her. She didn't look cold at all, she only had a magnificent and warm smile on her face. "Meng Qing," whispered Lin Feng. Meng Qing glanced at him and then ignored him. She was only talking to Duan Xinyi. Yu Menghe walked towards Lin Feng and hugged him. Then she walked into the distance. Lin Feng obviously understood what Yu Menghe meant. He then followed her and arrived next to Lin Hai. "Father," said Lin Feng as he approached. He didn't know what to say to either of his parents. Yu Menghe looked at Lin Feng. She wasn't angry at him, she was just smiling and said, "Little Feng, what is going on between you and the princess?" Lin Feng smiled wryly and explained everything. He didn't even hide the fact that they had slept together. He told his parents of the events. Even though that world was full of coldness and cruelty, for Lin Feng, family and friends were the most important people in his life. He really cherished them, so how could he hide things from his parents? When Yu Menghe heard Lin Feng, she sighed, looked at him and wrinkled her brow. She then said, "I don't know how you lived before, but Xinyi has given up everything for you. If you don't cherish Meng Qing, I will never let you off. There is no need to consider other things, just look at Meng Qing and how deeply she cares for you. She loves you, no matter what happens in the future, you must cherish her, you cannot lose her." Yu Menghe was talking in a strict and firm tone. Lin Feng was a bit surprised but nodded in a serious way. How could he forget about Meng Qing? She was the woman he loved the most in the world. Ruolan Shan wanted Lin Feng to go to and wait in front of the imperial palace 3 days later. They were going to leave for the Dragon Mountain Empire. That news had excited the entire country. The great competition of Shuiyu was finally going to start, but they still didn't know how many people were going to participate. Lin Feng guessed that Ruolan Shan hadn't really selected fighters, he was just considering the dates. 3 days was fine though. The great competition of Shuiyu would happen sooner or later. Leaving earlier would be a good opportunity to meet some geniuses of the empire. Duan Wu Dao, Duan Wuya, Yu Tianmeng and the others will all go there, thought Lin Feng, but at that moment, he was sitting in the bamboo forest and there was a huge straw mat on which there were many papers. Lin Feng was painting, his hand was moving over the paper like many shooting stars. In front of Lin Feng, Meng Qing was sat about 3 meters away. She looked calm and serene. Apart from her eyes and Lin Feng's hands, it seemed like nothing else was moving in the world. The silhouette of a woman gradually appeared under Lin Feng's painting brush. She looked affectionate, soft and delicate, pure and holy like a celestial being. She also looked natural and carefree. However, in that painting, that girl didn't look as beautiful as in reality. No, it's not good, thought Lin Feng while slowly shaking his head. He wasn't satisfied. He tore the paper apart and flames appeared in his hand. He burnt the paper into ashes. Lin Feng, do you still need a long time? Asked Meng Qing in a low voice. She had been sitting there for too long and Lin Feng had tried many times but he had failed each time. Each time, he had burnt the paper. Meng Qing was upset. Initially, Duan Xinyi had been teaching her how to paint. After that, Lin Feng had started trying to paint Meng Qing's portrait, without any interruption. Besides, he didn't allow Meng Qing to leave, he wanted her in front of him. You must wait until I'm done, said Lin Feng while laughing. He knew that he was being annoying. Meng Qing remained silent and seated. She looked pure and free from vulgarity. She perfectly matched with the beautiful scenery. The sound of Lin Feng's brush on the paper continued spreading through the air. Another portrait appeared, another Meng Qing. She looked very similar. Lin Feng had managed to make her face seem extremely beautiful, but it lacked vitality. No, said Lin Feng in a low voice again. He tore the paper apart and burnt it slowly. Lin Feng had burnt another piece of paper. Lin Feng put another piece of paper in front of him and started again. In Lin Feng's eyes, there was only Meng Qing at that moment, nothing else. His paintbrush danced over the paper, a portrait appeared again. The sounds of the brush on the paper and of the rustling leaves were merging together in the air. It was very romantic. No, no, no. Lin Feng managed to paint her face beautifully each time. She looked very similar but there was something lacking. It was vitality, that vitality which gave people the impression that the 10,000 things of creation were colorless when they saw Meng Qing. Lin Feng didn't even know how many sheets he had burnt already but Meng Qing was still sitting there and watching the beautiful bamboo forest. When she saw Lin Feng frown in anguish, she didn't look impatient at all, her heart was filled with sweet feelings. Lin Feng was watching her carefully and she was also looking at Lin Feng. They weren't talking at all but most of the time, only a glance sufficed for them to guess their mutual thoughts. Time was passing slowly and the sky was growing dark. Day and night were merging at that moment. Time was really passing slowly. However, Lin Feng was still silent. From morning to evening, he had remained silent, and then from evening to morning, until the sunrise appeared and the flowers bloomed. They had the feeling they were witnessing the awakening of the world, the creation of the planet. Finally, on the third day, Lin Feng raised his brush in the air. He looked at Meng Qing. A gentle breeze brushed his body which made his hair flutter gently. Immediately after, he closed his eyes, slowly. He stopped looking at Meng Qing, he just closed his eyes and finally his hands started floating above the paper again. The sound of the brush on the paper started spreading in the air again but this time, there was nothing messy at all. Lin Feng was painting in a free and unrestrained way, as if guided by the heavens. Lin Feng's eyes were closed, his hand continued dancing over the paper, smoothly and skillfully. He did everything in one go without stopping once. He had been struggling for 3 days but at that moment, he had won. Phew! Lin Feng sighed and opened his eyes. He then looked at his painting. Finally, he smiled in a resplendent way. He couldn't stop smiling. Finally, he raised his painting and looked at it. It looked alive. It was filled with vitality. Besides, it didn't just look good, it was magnificent. Meng Qing raised her head and looked at Lin Feng. He had been looking at her for 3 days and had used up a lot of energy. Meng Qing gave a magnificent smile. That portrait was incredibly beautiful, just like a celestial being, like a flower blossoming. I finally managed to do it, said Lin Feng in a low voice with a smile of satisfaction on his face. Lin Feng, since you closed your eyes, why did you need me here? Because I need to feel your presence. If you're next to me, I can picture you in my mind and in my heart," said Lin Feng in a soft and tender voice while smiling. "When I'm on the road and miss you too much, at least, I can look at this portrait of you. And when I painted you, I had to close my eyes, because I needed to use my heart to see you. My eyes are not efficient enough." Meng Qing felt embarrassed and stroked her hair. She looked incredibly beautiful. Lin Feng had closed his eyes to paint her, and painted with his heart. Besides, that painting wasn't only Meng Qing's portrait, it was Meng Qing's love.